podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah. Hogs Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. What are we doing?
Ready on 3, 2, 1. Matt and Mike in the morning. A Don't Unfriend Me production. 20 years combined working in intelligence for multiple agencies. Up to the minute current events, news, geopolitics, and a no bullshit attitude. The best part of waking up is whiskey in your cup. And Matt and Mike in the morning. Tuesday and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. The Odd Couple. Matt and Mike in the morning.
Where were you on 11/16? 11/16. I wonder if they'll call it 11/16 when all the dust settles and they, have the court hearings and all the liberals come out and say, hey, where were you on 11/16? Were you hunkering down in a corridor, barricaded as Secret Service said our democracy was in jeopardy? Were you hiding from a unruly mob that wanted to be heard so badly that they decided to attack police officers and refuse to disperse because of the violence in Israel that was so unbearable that they decided to create violence here? I mean, if we're going to have hearings where we blame the President of the United States because he said some things which should be heard in the court of law, fine. Go ahead and put it in front of a jury. Let's bring the prosecutorial evidence to the forefront versus doing it in a secret grand jury where it's sealed, supposedly sealed. Let's go ahead and have the defense pick it apart and have an exchange of information so the defendant, can have his day in court without being harassed for the rest of his life. Fine. You want to hold Donald Trump accountable for J6? I'm fine with that. If you can prove that he orchestrated it, organized it, and ensured that it took place, funded it, good luck. I am under the firm belief that nobody should be held to account to others' actions because nobody has the power to make anyone do anything. There were times in the military we would see people do stupid things and they could use the excuse of, well, the officer told me to do it. And that's fine when you're, painting a room a different color than was ordered, or you rearrange a requisition to find dollars to spend on something that you've already over allocated on your budget. or possibly doing live fire exercises when you were told to use dummy rounds just to prove a point, because there's a big difference between blanks and hearing the hiss and the pop and putting people in a situation where they can feel with very little threat or danger to them a live fire situation, and even though it's against the rules. Or there might be a blanket party, for example, and it's completely against standard and it's not supposed to happen, but it does. Or at least it used to in the military that I grew up in. But there's a big difference from that and having an officer say, go ahead and torch this entire village and all the women and children in it. That's not a standing order that falls within the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and you can use your discretion, and although it might end your career, and most assuredly would, at least you can sleep at night. You might get thrown in the brig for dereliction of duty and disobeying a direct order and all that other stuff. By the time the dust settles, you hope that because you did the right thing, that you would be acquitted and free of any burden of having to be held accountable for something like that. But you have a choice. Donald Trump could have sat up on that dais, and he didn't, but he could have and said, I want all of you to turn on the Capitol with your pitchforks and your torches, and I want you to rise up against this government and take it back and install me as your duly elected leader. Go. And that most assuredly would have been inciting a riot. That's not what he did. What he did was say some words that were on the cusp of what Donald Trump always does, which flirts with keeping his people frothing at the mouth for their vitriol and cynicism towards the government. And said nothing that other leaders haven't said in their time, which is to fight, to stand up, we'll march together. Excuse me, Maxine Waters has said it 100 times. Schiff has said it. AOC and their little peon followers last night replicated the exact same situation that the J6ers did. Now, you might want to split hairs, and you might say, well, wait a second, there was an election going on. There was a certification of an election. Okay. So it's not necessarily that they are at a federal location or a government building or a place where the cake is made in the DNC headquarters. Policy and legislation don't take place at these. Oh, they were closed. Okay, so it's semantics that we're worried about, right? It's like the BLM riots. Police stations were put on fire. Federal buildings were put on fire. Police officers were accosted. And town halls were stormed. Session was taking place, and we saw this in Nashville when they protested against guns. Session legislation was taking place. That was an insurrection by the definition of the U.S. government. The Democratic body and legislative process of Congress have said that was an insurrection when it comes to January 6th. But when it comes to Nashville or the BLM riots or Antifa storming a police headquarters or last night or breaking into the anteroom chambers of the SCOTUS nomination, those things aren't insurrections. Why? Well, because they have a cause that's just. They have a cause that a certain amount of people agree with, so therefore it makes it just. Well, a lot of people believe the election was stolen. I have fought this narrative on this show for 3 years, but it doesn't mean that if your overall weights and measures comes down to public opinion needs to be strong for something to be valid when somebody protests or gets violent or riots, well then, you've got plenty of people who believe the election was stolen. Most Republicans believe there was something nefarious. So just based on the fact that a large amount of people believe something, then January 6th is just in the eyes of the Democrats. Is that not the case? Excuse me if I'm asking questions that people don't like. Pardon me, the 38 people who are getting on here, which will be 150 within the next 45 minutes. But pardon me if I'm waking you up with something other than whiskey in your cup. And you may ask, Matt, where's Mike? Mike's in Florida. He's playing hockey. He's not here today. It's the Matt show. No Mike, just Matt. But I know if Mike was here, he would feel the same way. Because this double standard is the problem with this country. I'm going to talk about a few things today. I wish I would have woken up and laid out the entire syllabus of the show for you and done beautiful little graphics. But instead, all I put up in the notes was like Newsom, China, Riot. Because I spend way too much time trying to lay out a show that's beneficial when I realize I'm just boiling the ocean. That's all I'm doing. Every day I come on and I do a show, and whether it's live or whether it's recorded, and the thing that I've realized is that it doesn't matter what I'm talking about right now. Some other bullshit is happening that's going to supersede what I'm discussing right now. And that's the truth of it. Some politician's going to say something stupid. Maybe Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens will find out that Ben Shapiro's the father. That's probably the next thing. Ben Shapiro's going to come out and he's going to be like, "That's Shiva. I am the baby daddy." And I don't mean to disrespect Candace Owens and her husband. I happen to like Candace. I don't like all of her takes. I don't like all of Ben's takes. Just because somebody is a talking head, trust me, it doesn't make them omnipotent. I am nothing of the sort. Candace Owens doesn't know everything. Either does Ben Shapiro. They wake up the same way we do. They shit, shower, and shave, stuff some food down their gullet. They drudge into work. They wipe the sleep out of their eyes. They find things that they are frustrated by or that they admire, and then they go ahead and tell you a story. And they give you their perspective, but they're not all knowing. They're not all seeing. There's no difference between you and Ben Shapiro. There's no difference between you and me. I'm just a guy. I'm just a girl living in a material world. There's no difference. The information that I have access to, you have access to. I just have different channels to process it, disseminate it. And I may get it a little faster, or I may have some people who have an inside track. But there's nothing special about me. We're going to go over a viewer's email that I got late last night from a guy who was on the show. His name was Mike. I think he's Coast Guard. He's really been out of shape. He decided to write me like a 3,000-word email. And, I just want to reply TLDR. Dude, I don't have the time to read this, but I'm going to take the time. And I'm going to tell you why people think that they're victims. People think that they're victims because I won't validate their neuroses. Because I won't validate people. I am probably going to have less of a following than Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you because I will not sit here and validate your neuroses. I just won't do it. And I got to look at guys like Dominic Izzo, and I got to look at Bill Maher, and I got to look at Rogan, and I got to say those guys have it unlocked. And it's the way that I've done my show for 3 years, is that I just don't fucking care if I hurt your feelings, because I shouldn't be hurting your feelings. Nothing I say should hurt your feelings. I'm nothing to you. I'm just some guy on a screen. I hate to say it, but we could Breakfast Club this situation and don't forget about me, and I could sing it and give you my earring. But in the end, you're going to forget about me. If I die tomorrow, you'll move on. You'll find another show. You'll be like, "Oh, it sucks. Matt's dead," but I'll find another show. Let's be honest. I'm not going to be eulogized to epic proportions. I'm not going to have 40,000 people at my funeral. We need to stop living in this world that somehow we're going to make it, because we are who we are. And those neurons are set. Once we click 30, we are who we are. There's very little change after 20. There's hardly any change after 30. And there is no change after 35, 40. You are who you are. And if you were going to make it, you would have made it. If you were going to get the Bentley and the Lamborghini, you would have had it already. I'm 50 years old. I've got a podcast that's worth about $500,000. Right now, if I sold it to a major company with the traffic that it gets, about $500,000 is what I could sell it for. I sell my house, I could sell it for 1.1. That makes me worth, plus my health, my life insurance, plus what I got in the bank and a few cars. I've got about $2.5 million to my name is what I'm worth. How much cash do I have? That's all that matters. After we liquidate and pay for the hospital bills and all that stuff, my wife will probably have $1 million to her name, and she keeps the property. Great. I am who I am. I'll make a little bit more, make a little bit less, but in the end, we are who we are. And the only thing that makes us different is how we react to things. Really, truly, that's it. We're all going through the same struggles. We're all trying to pay the bills. We're all trying to make ends meet in this Joe Biden economy. We're all trying to figure out if our kids are going to go die in some desert somewhere because somebody can't just stop. After 3,000 years, if you haven't solved the problem, dare I say that problem's here to fucking stay. That problem is here to fucking stay. It's not going anywhere. If you can't solve a problem in 3,000 years, then dare I say it's never going to change. It reminds me of a movie, Long Kiss Goodnight, as this freaking Wetworks guy is sitting at the table with his wife and they're eating dinner and he's just slopping food in his mouth. And there's this little dog and the dog is digging into its ass, cleaning itself as animals do. And he looks at his wife and goes, Dottie, that dog has been licking its own ass for 45 minutes. Dare I say that whatever is there is now dislodged, or it will be there forever. That's the way I feel about the Middle East. Whatever was there, it should be dislodged and removed now, and you're good. You can stop it and get out of your ass. And if it's not after 3,000 years, then guess what? It's there to stay. And you're not going to solve the problem. So we're all worried about our children, our neighbors, our grandchildren. Are they going to go and fight off some war that makes no sense, that we have fought countless times before? We are who we are. We are who we are. And you're all you're ever going to be. Like I said, money will change hands. Jobs will change hands. You might live in a new place. You might find a new spouse. You might knock out a couple of kids. But you are who you are. Nothing's going to change that. When it comes down to the way people think and the way people act, that is decided for you long before you have any cognitive dissonance or cognitive recognition or cognitive probability or understanding of who you are. That's the one thing in life, that metamorphosis, that chrysalis state is one day you're a larva and the next day you're a butterfly, and you have no concept of when that took place, just like birth. When you finally realize that you are who you are, and this is the person looking in front of you and in the mirror and reflective, you didn't know it took place. Nobody's that self-aware. So if that's true, and we are who we are, and everybody is it's already built into the cake, then how you react to things defines who you want to be. Maybe not who you are, but who you want to be. And how I react to things is I want to be honest. I just want to be direct. I just want to be able to tell you, this is how I feel. This is what I think. What do you think? Now, last night I had a guy on the show, Wurzelroot. Does anyone know what Wurzelroot is? Okay, so the funny thing is the Groypers always want to disassociate themselves from hating Jews, and these are the guys who are, I don't remember. Why can't I even remember this kid's name? Somebody help me. Amy, what the hell's his name? Menendez, the Menendez brothers. What's his face? Who's the guy that hung out with Kanye in Maya Yiannopoulos? Help me out. I can't remember his name. Fuentes? Is that what it is? Nick Fuentes? Nick Menendez? Kyle and Eric Menendez? Fuentes? Whatever. You guys may know this guy. He speaks out against Israel. He speaks out against jungle fever, so to speak, black and white relationships. He speaks out against a lot of things. He believes in nationalism. He believes that white people shouldn't mingle with black people. Essentially, Nick Fuentes, thank you. Essentially, he's a fairly, in my opinion, a racist and a white Christian nationalist. He pretends he's not. I'm not a white Christian nationalist. How dare you? Let me just cover up my swastika and put away my cross and my Kill Jews shirt. These guys pretend, but like most white nationalists, they pretend, no. I'm a Christian first. I don't hate Jews. Yeah, you hate Jews. And we know you hate Jews. And just say it. It's okay. Just I hate Jews. Say it. I hate cab drivers. I can't fucking stand cab drivers. I hate them. I think every cab driver on the planet should be in the bottom of the ocean. That would be a good start. You want to create a new union? Call it the 1,000 fathoms deep union and put them all in the bottom of the ocean. Cab drivers are the scum of the earth. I hate them. Okay? Nothing wrong with you. If you don't like people, that's fine. You can say that. I hate Jews. Okay, just say it. Let it go. Let it out. Let it go. Let it go. Say the truth. But there's one of them. His name's Wurs. I don't know his real name. I think it's Jebediah or Ezekiel or some shit was his real name. It doesn't matter. But I'll be honest with you. I had a conversation with my wife about this. And I said, the interesting thing is that this kid is probably 23, 24 years old. He's highly intelligent, suffers from severe case of ADHD. It's obvious. But I find myself liking him. No matter that he's a Groyper and a Nick Fuentes clone, he's reaching out for a reason. And it's either A, to embarrass the channel because he thinks that coming on here and having a conversation with me and having me have discourse with him somehow embarrasses my channel when I think it doesn't. It actually, it's the premise of the channel. Or when I asked him, why are you coming back? And he's like, because I think there's some mutual ground here where a conversation can take place. And I'm like, holy shit, I agree with you. And honestly, if I saw this kid on the street, I'd buy him a beer. If he needed $100, I'd give it to him. If he called me up one day and just said, Matt, I just want to let some shit out. And I want to talk to you because maybe I don't have a father figure. And there's something about you that I like, and I want to just, okay, great. Now that's the moment I live for. See, I've already established who I am, but it's not who I want to be. So I want to work towards a reasonable accord with people. I want to learn about people because this show is great. I can sit here and talk about Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens and Newsom. That's easy. That's the low-hanging fruit. But the big rocks, the things that need to be moved out of the way to sow the field of growth and opportunity and self-reflection and self-awareness and self-efficacy is achieved through who you want to be, not who you are. Because who you are is the comfort zone. And you got to get yourself out of it. So when I see Wurzelroot come on, Schadenfreude, learn some German, folks. When I see a guy like that come on and he insults my wife, he makes sexual innuendos about my daughter through email, you would think, why would Matt ever engage with this guy? Why would he possibly have a conversation with a guy? Why? Because there's commonality. And if you are trying to grow as a human being and you are trying to reach that self that you will never achieve because you are who you are, but we still effortlessly are sometimes effortlessly and sometimes with all the effort that's in vain, we want to be something different than we are. So we emulate who we want to be. I will tell you this, that the only true person you can be is the person you are, and embrace it. And that is the one thing that I will stand by. Ben Shapiro may have a Harvard education. Candace Owens may have a rough exterior edge, but she's basically stiletto and high heels in polished paint. And she is a wicked smart woman. Bill Maher is the guy who's decided that marriage isn't for him and prostitutes and drugs is fantastic, but has some self-value issues and has some self-confidence issues, but is an extremely intelligent human being who I admire. Cenk Uyghur is trying to reestablish himself because he realizes that he's not really popular anymore and he's losing his viewership. So he's trying to be this more understanding guy and try to reach out to Republican talk shows. And I've seen the change he's trying to make, and nobody's fooled because he is who he is. Joe Biden's trying to show you that his programs work, that Bidenomics is the thing that's going to save America, when honestly it's the thing that's going to kill America. And he's trying to rebrand his image as somebody who was in politics for 47 years and now is trying to get into heaven. Donald Trump is trying to sell you that he's not a criminal and that he's a victim, and everything that happened to him was not of his own volition and not his own fault. And there's nothing that he could have done better. Everything he did was perfect, and they just are going after him, which is the farthest thing from the truth. He made plenty of mistakes. Everybody's trying to be somebody who they're not, including these protesters who don't give a shit about Arabs. They don't care. I will say it as clearly as I can. Nobody cares about Jews and Arabs in the United States except for Jews and Arabs. Nobody. Because less than 42 days ago, nobody gave a shit. Unless you already had the Star of David in your home, unless you already had menorah and dreidel and potato pancakes in your house, you didn't care about Jews. And you didn't care about Muslims. And you haven't. The only thing you care about Arabs is you don't want them flying shit into towers anymore. That's all you care about. Let's be honest. And when you go into a 7-Eleven, it gets a little awkward sometimes. If Joe Biden can say it, I can say it. He's not a racist. I'm not either. Let's just be honest. You don't care about Jews. You don't care about Arabs. The only reason you care about Jews and Arabs right now is because it's the latest thing to talk about. Because it was Ukraine and Russia. And before that, it was Bosnians and Syrians. Then it was Crimea. Then it was the Congo. Then you were worried about Egypt. We were worried about North Korea and South Korea. This is just the way it always is. Then it was Afghanistan and the exit from there. Then it was Syria again. Then it was raw minerals in South Africa that were being mined to the nth degree. Global warming, murder hornets, the ozone layer, COVID, AIDS, herpes simplex 10, H1N1, the bird flu, the swine flu, mad cow disease, eggs, aspirin. Am I on a rant this morning? Yes, I am. Most assuredly. Because I'm sick and tired of it. Folks, I want you to come in close. I want you to zoom in. I want you to put your face to the screen, and we're gonna play a little game. Okay, here it is. You're gonna die. I know. I don't want to disappoint you, and I'm sorry that someone had to tell you, but we're all gonna die. Someday it's gonna happen. You are who you are. Your time has already been chosen. And it may be unbeknownst to you, but every beat of your heart, every breath you take, I'll be watching you. No, wrong song. With every beat of your heart and every breath you take, you have to look at that it very well could be your last, and you have no idea. You are who you are. And none of us are getting out of here alive. And if that's the case, it only matters. The moments only matter to you. And I would challenge you that making the moments matter to other people is why you are here. This is why you're here. Maybe it's to find God. Maybe it's to cure cancer. Maybe it's to annoy the shit out of me during chat. I don't know what it is, but your established person will only truly make an impact when you get past the confines of who you are and start trying to be who you want to be. So I've been accused many times before of not being sensitive to my viewers. Folks, if I could demonstrate that to a multifaceted group, a multiplicative group, a group of people that grow every single day, that somehow I could demonstrate to you that I care about my viewers, then I would do it. If you don't know that I care, then you never will. If one of my viewers is suffering and doesn't have a place to stay, if you think I'm not asking those questions and allowing the group to put some money together, see, here's the difference. My group says, hey, there's a person who needs a hotel room. I'm not the first person to jump in because I know my group can take care of that. My group can take care of $100, $50 a night for a hotel room. What they can't take care of is I have kidney issues and I don't have enough money for something. That's when I have to get involved. But if you truly believe that there are things that my viewers don't or do need that I have not helped facilitate and make sure that they get without them knowing that I'm involved, then you're not listening. Or I'm not telling. I do know what happens with my viewers. I know when viewers die. I've had it happen, and it sucks. I know viewers that have taken their own life. I know viewers who have reached out to me based upon their military service, and they need help. I know viewers who've lost their husbands because of drugs. And I constantly check in with these people, and I follow these people, and I make sure that they're okay. And my moderators do a wonderful job of bringing everyone into the fold. I have no problem with how I feel about my viewers. But I'm not going to kiss your ass. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you want to hear, ever. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. I will never do it. I don't care how many advertisers I lose. I don't care how many opportunities I lose. Listen, I've got somebody who lives right next to me, who is a part of a very large Republican group that is as influential as you can possibly think. Mark Levin is there. Nikki Haley's been there. Ben Shapiro's been there. Candace Owens has been there. Every major Republican has been there. Kevin McCarthy was there and interacts with this group. And she is very influential in it. And she watches my show, and she's probably listening right now, and she knows, oh, that's me. And I know that all I would have to do is put on a suit, clean up my language for a year, and toe the talking points. Christian conservative values. Never disagree with the party. Always the straight and narrow. It's always filtered through God. It's always, oh shuckers, versus saying the things that are really on your mind. Hiding the tattoos. Fuck that. I won't do it. Because there's no difference between me and Ben Shapiro. There's no difference between me and Candace Owens. There's no difference between me and Cenk Uygur. There's no difference between me and Bill Maher and Joe Rogan. They may do things more effectively. They may be more talented in certain things. But that doesn't make us different. We all have different gifts. We all have different capabilities. And I know for a fact that Ben Shapiro would not have this type of debate with me. He wouldn't. Because he can't control me like he can control those stupid morons that he talks to at college campuses. When he has a real debate with an intellectual, he loses. With somebody who is not going to get emotional. Somebody who won't allow them to get themselves in a trap. Because they won't allow the premise of the conversation to take place because it's fake. It's a fallacy. Ben Shapiro makes false equivalencies constantly in his debate form. There's only one person who I've ever met who I would never, ever engage in a conversation that was a debate, and that's Jordan Peterson, because the man's unbeatable. If the whole point is to have a conversation with somebody and come out with a win, Jordan Peterson is unbeatable. He is simply the best debater I've ever seen. Because the man does not allow himself to be controlled by emotion. The man doesn't debate fallacy. The debate never begins because he won't allow the conversation to go there. I like to think I'm pretty good at that too. I try to bring people back to their original points. I try to make people answer questions that I ask them, and vice versa. I won't allow a situation to happen where we get into anecdotal flip-flab. There's just no point. This happened last night in the conversation with Wars. There were things that he wasn't going to answer, and I wanted him to answer them. So I'm going to ask a few questions. We're going to put it out here. I'm going to put it out there. Pretty simple. We started this conversation. Now, people might go, Matt's mad. Okay. We got to talk about that real quick. First of all, someone said that about Olivia last night. If she would smile, she'd be prettier. She's not smiling because you're a dick. When Wurs came on, his followers all, there's a ton of them because they're all little grapers and they all, hey, Spike, what do we do? Spike. They're all little brainless automatons. And what they do is that they think it's funny to all say the same thing. Like, Wurs is just a sweetie. He's a cuddle pie. He's a nice guy. And you're like, okay, we get it. We get it that you guys are swinging from this guy's nuts. But you all do the same thing. You come in and he's nice. He's a lovable guy, blah, blah. And then you proceed, once that doesn't work, to start insulting people. It's a mob. It's a mob mentality. It's a group bully. It's guys we used to kick the shit at in high school. It's the guys that would walk around and constantly just, chirp, 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 until finally you and your crew just took them out back and beat the shit out of them. And those guys will never learn. They're just as bad as the little Antifa mobs and the little cliques that run around and they try to intimidate and bully. Dude, you're an internet group who nobody knows you exist. You are who you are. And if you're not careful, it won't be much. But I humor these guys because the conversations that I've had with them, I found once we get past their stupid, I don't like Jews exterior, they're pretty decent human beings. They're just as pissed off as you, and they're just as pissed off as me. They're Christians. They believe in their faith, their God, and their country, and they're sick and tired of seeing what's happening. And if they do and say some things that are anti-Semitic, okay, fine. You know what? I'm going to say it. There's a lot of other things that people could do that are a hell of a lot worse than being anti-Semitic. Okay, there's a hell of a lot of things people can do than just be a little racist. Because can't we just be honest that everybody has some sort of feeling towards somebody else that would not be popular if it was put on stage? Some people don't like women, and they just like Vivek Ramaswamy. Sorry, I don't care. Vivek does not like women. Sorry. Because he was nice to Laura Loomer. No, he knows that Laura Loomer would destroy him in a New York minute and turn all of her little trumpetons against him, and he knows what side of the bread his butter is on. Okay? If I had a conversation with Laura Loomer, I would tell her a few things, and I don't care if she turned her little nationalist against me. But if you look at Vivek, his conversation with women usually go the way that they went with Haley. And although I agree with some of the things he had to say on that debate, in fact, most of them, I don't like the way he says it because I think he's a pompous dick. Some people think the same about me. But Olivia was sitting here last night and she's listening to Wars, and Hayden, for the first time, went to my wife because my wife sings and she's a pianist. Not that type of pianist, please, but she is also a classic pianist, a classically large pianist. And my daughter asked her for help because my daughter's going for Mrs. Potts in a play for Beauty and the Beast. And my daughter could have done Belle, but she had a fling, a crush on the lead boy. And she's like, I'm not going to go pretend I love him because I don't. So I'm going to be Miss Potts. And I said, okay. And she's so excited to be Miss Potts. She asked my wife for help. So my wife got up in the middle of the podcast, said, I got to go help Hayden. And to me, that is who she wants to be. It's maybe not who she is. She realizes that times that her and Hayden don't get along the best way, and she's not the greatest mother ever told in her own eyes, and I disagree with her. I think she's fantastic. But she's trying to be who she wants to be, not necessarily who she thinks she is. And that's a prime example of what we're talking about today. So she gets up. But during that time, she's staring off. Why? Because she's been up since 6 in the morning. She's worked all day. I'm not going to tell you what she does, but she works. That woman burns 1,500 calories a day at her job. She moves all day long. She never sits down, and she works constantly. She's tired. It's 10:30 at night. You've got wars coming on. She wants to go play Diablo and watch the Colorado Avalanche game. It's what she wants more than anything. And she looks over at me and she goes, make it a quick call. And she's staring off, and people are saying, hey, well, if you smiled more, you would be this. If you did. And she's just like, fuck this. And she gets up and leaves. Those are those people being who they are. And they're not trying to be who they really want to be. They're not there yet. They're a bunch of young kids. They don't understand life yet. They don't know shit about life yet. And when they hit that 30 mark, 35, and the bills come, and they have to get a house, and the woman's looking at them, and a new baby's on the way, then they start to realize who they want to be. And the harsh reality is who they are. And that's life. And it's the same way for everybody. I don't care if you're a billionaire. Look at Vivek Ramaswamy. This guy didn't vote 2 years ago. This guy was a pharmaceutical guy. This guy was a CEO. This guy was for the vaccine. He wasn't a Republican. He was a Democrat. He wasn't even that because he didn't know what he was. He wasn't involved in the political fray. But all the things that he supported were Democrat. And he looked at himself and realized as he grew up and said, I now know who I am, and this isn't what I want to be. So I'm going to go try to be who I want to be. And that is Ramaswamy. And he's trying to be who he wants to be. And if people will let him is the question. Nikki Haley. Yeah, she's made millions on the lecture circuit. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yes, she has a war hawk type attitude. Sure. But she's also trying to emulate who she wants to be, not who she is. Everyone's trying to do that. We're all trying to do the same thing. So when those guys come on, you may ask me, Matt, why are you talking to somebody who's a Groyper, a Nick Fuentes supporter, for the same reason that I would talk to a Klansman? For the same reason I would talk to somebody who supports Hamas or Al-Qaeda or ISIS or the JIP or Hezbollah or the Islamic Brotherhood, is because I want to learn. And I can see that I don't care who's in front of me, that there's something inside them about who they're trying to emulate, about who they want to be. And that's what I want to uncover. Now, unless you're sitting next to a complete narcissist or a psychopath, you're going to be able to uncover it. With enough time and enough skill and enough conversation, you can uncover the best in people. Unless it's a narcissist or a psychopath. And even those people hold value because you can just be amazed by their depravity and just be shocked that their neurons and their pathways are completely so fucked up that it allows you to realize that you're not that bad. So when people ask me, why do I entertain guys like that? Because that's not who they are. And I don't believe Wurs is a neo-Nazi white supremacist. I don't. I think he's a kid who's pissed off, who has a brain and doesn't know how to properly direct it. And he's trying to figure it out. And he will hit an age. That guy, that kid, will hit 35. He'll stand up straight. He'll get his ADHD under control. He'll get his nervous habits under control. He'll find out that he wants to do something. He'll be good looking and squared away. And he'll make something of himself. I believe that. And I believe that the things that he said when he was younger are just as dumb as some of the things that I said when I was younger. And I can see myself in that kid. So I'm going to take whatever time I can to help him. I'm going to tell you a story quickly. And this one's kind of important to me. There was a guy named Noe Reyes. Now, I was at Apple, and I had worked at Albuquerque Uptown as a senior manager for Apple. And hands down, one of my greatest jobs I've ever had, and I completely squandered it. I was in the middle of the most lowest of low. I was completely overweight, unhealthy, addicted to Oxy. My back surgeries were rampant, and I just was not in a good place. I wasn't a good version of myself. And I went to work for the most elite retailer in the world when I was at my worst, if that tells you something. If it tells you how good I was at my job, how good I was at interviewing, how good I was at retail, to get in at my worst with the most exclusive company on the planet, because it's easier to get into Harvard than it is to work at Apple. Let me say it again. It's easier to get into Harvard than it is to work at Apple. Go look at the stats. It's like 11% admission rate in Harvard and like 7% at Apple. And I got in. And not only did I get in, I excelled quickly. Within 6 months, I was running my own stores. Within a year, I was running 4 stores. In one of the most elite markets in the country. Took Bakersfield, California, that store, to the highest employee satisfaction in the world. Out of all the stores, China, New York, San Francisco, all the Apple stores. And we had the best customer service score in the world for 5 years running in that location, hands down. I've got the awards to prove it. I can hand them to you on the wall. And even at my worst, we did amazing things. And I knew the community of Bakersfield. I knew the crime. I knew the issues. But my uncle, my aunt, my cousins lived there. And it was just meant to be. We rekindled a relationship after 30 years of my mother trying to destroy it, saying I was a drug dealer, my wife was a prostitute, horrible shit, my mom's nuts, and destroying those relationships. I established the most amazing relationship I've ever had with a man in 3 years with my uncle, and I love the man unequivocally. And the day that we lost him, my soul was completely fucking crushed, and I still can't get over it now. I watch Narcos and I see Pablo Escobar and I look at him and go, man, he looks like if that guy got a haircut and grew to 6'7", he would look just like my uncle. And I think about him constantly. The man was the most profound impact in my life that I needed somebody, and he was that guy for me. And honestly, I didn't like my uncle. He was tall, he was intimidating, he was scary, he carried a gun, he was gruff, he was rough. And I remember him when I was 7 years old. And I didn't want anything to do with him. And then I remember walking into his house and looking at this palace that he lived in, this 8,000 square foot monstrosity. He's one of the biggest guys in Bakersfield, and he's loved and he's adored, and he's created this amazing trophy business. And I'm walking back in his door as a guy who works for Apple, just moved to California, and I'm going to meet him for the first time. And trust me when I say it was absolutely intimidating. But little did I find that he was like the father that I needed. He was the most amazing man, 3 years of my life. And I love that man more than any other human being on the planet. And I can't even begin to tell you how I am not like most people when it comes to memories and feelings and emotions. But every time I think about that man, I get a lump in my throat that I can't even begin to describe. I understand when people are like, oh my gosh, my mom and my dad and I love this person. I'm not like that. With that man, he's like my kids and my wife, just a cut above the rest. So when he died, I was unable to say goodbye to him because he was so proud, and he was he didn't want anyone to see him like that. And I told my aunt, and she apologized one time and said, I should have let you. And I said, no, you shouldn't, because that's not what he wanted. That's what he didn't want anyone to see him like that in a weakened state. He was a mountain of a man. He was strong, and he kept his family together, and he was amazing. He didn't want me to see him like that. But when I think about that time, I think about the inequities, how I knew who I wanted to be, but I reverted back to a state of being and of who I was that I was incapable of being who I wanted to be. And I went back to who I was, which was an angry, addicted, habitual jerk. Because that's who I am. That's who I am. And I can embrace that. I know who I am. I have an addictive personality. I get it from my mother. I have depression. I have anxiety. I have all those things. That's who I am. But that's not who I want to be. So I fight those things. And I now have learned how to control them. But I didn't back then. So when I went to work for Apple and I took over my own store, you can imagine it's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street. You have this ungodly salary. You're getting stocks each year that are making you hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're going to be a millionaire in 5 years. And you're kind of like, I'm shit hot and I know it. And you start being who you are, not who you want to be. And I, over 5 years, gradually became a worse version of myself until the point where I just couldn't function anymore. I couldn't stand up without taking pills. I couldn't work. I couldn't do the hours. So I sat inside the office and I played Diablo. Can you imagine? After 5 years and being on the floor and engaged and driving sales and being a cheerleader for these teams, and then to have them see you fall and they probably want to help you. They probably want to reach out to you, but you're so disconnected that they say, fuck it. And you realize you get help. You need to get off the medication. You need to get healed with surgeries. But these people are tired of you. They're sick of you because you are who you are and you're not trying to be who you want to be. Because you're so clouded and so jaded and all these feelings and emotions, you just keep suppressing them to eventually you become a lump of goo sitting in a chair, and these people no longer emulate who you want them to be. They become the worst parts of you. And they are going to tell somebody that you are being the worst parts of you. So you get some help and you take a sabbatical from a year and you go through treatment and you go through physical therapy and you have the biggest come to Jesus with yourself and you shed the drugs and you shed the weight and you start taking care of your body. And then all of a sudden you go, oh my God, who was I? I don't remember when my son was born. I was so sedated. And you stop and you look at yourself and go, I think it's time for me to be who I want to be. So you go back and you go to David and you go to Sherry and you go to your former leaders who all believed in you and you say, I'm sorry. I forgot who I was and it took me a year to find out and I've made mistakes and all I want to do is apologize and all I want to do is make amends and I want to make it right and I want to come back to work and I want to work for the greatest company in the world, which it was at the time. And they say, we would love that, but we can't. And you know you can't. You're a wealthy man. You have done amazing things. You will always be known in this company, but we can't take the risk. So you have a conversation and you find a way to make it work and you resign with honor and integrity and you leave because it's the right thing to do. And that was the decision. There were options. I could have went to another location. I could have transferred. I could have went to China. There's plenty of things I could have done, but I chose to leave because in my eyes, I lost the privilege to be who I wanted to be in that space. So why do I bring it up? Because there's a gentleman there named Noe Reyes. And Noe, when you looked at him, was handsome. He looked like a mixture between Eric Bana and the guy that was on Miss Congeniality, Hispanic guy, who was the FBI agent with Sandra Bullock. He's handsome guy, well put together. around 42 or so, fit, intelligent. But I had known guys like him my whole life. Didn't respect women, was arrogant to the point of narcissism, and felt that he absolutely was all-knowing and couldn't grow as a human being. And when I thought about him, I realized I didn't like the guy. And he reminded me of the guys who are WANA SEALs or SEAL Team 6 members. Meal Team 6, Gravy SEALs. These are the guys that, I always wanted to serve, but I didn't. And you're like, okay, whatever. If you wanted to serve, you would have. So nothing's worse than saying that to military guys is, I really wanted to serve. No, you didn't. Because if you did, you would have. I wanted to. No, you didn't. Stop saying that. We don't hold it against you. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But he was that guy. Was a gun enthusiast, loved guns, always tried to talk like a cop, was always trying to be who he wanted to be, but failed at it. Well, I brought two women with me from Albuquerque. People moved from Albuquerque to be with me in Bakersfield. That's pretty cool. I had people who followed me across the country from Albuquerque to go and work with me in these stores. And that is why Esmeralda and Selena, two ladies who I absolutely love, who you would look at and go, why? And Angela, it was Angela and Selena who moved. And then Esmeralda worked in Bakersfield and she became this is a long story, but let's just put it this way. Two ladies who had no interest in men whatsoever, who had half their head shaved here and earrings. And you look at them and you would go, kind of have a punk edge to them. Two people I love and would lay my life down for these two ladies. And they are just the most amazing people. And they came to work for me in Bakersfield. And Esmeralda was this well put together Latin girl who looked like a prom princess, who wound up realizing who she wanted to be versus who she really was, and fell in love with Selena, and they're still together today. And Angela and Selena separated, but still hold them both to the highest regard. They were coming to work there, and Selena was going to be a genius, which is working on computers in the back room, and Esmeralda was going to be the lead, a creative, and going to take the lead creative position. And she had earned it because in Albuquerque, she was a fantastic creative, and she had earned the position at Valley Plaza. Well, we went through 3,000 applications, finalized 300 interviews, and hired about 100 people, 125 people to come work at the store. And Esmeralda and Selena were one of them, and then Angela, and then a bunch of other people. And one of them was Noe Reyes, who I didn't hire. And I wouldn't have if I would have met him before. But Noe, the first day we went to training, and the great thing about Apple is that before you even step foot in a store, you all meet up and you go together. You don't get your blue shirt. And for 3 days, you just literally learn about Apple. I mean, they open up the mothership. It's amazing. And you learn about everything. And it's kind of like an initiation process to learn about the company. And you learn about the credo, and you learn about team building and and it's an amazing experience. So the first day, I'm sitting out in the dais and I'm on a phone call because as the store leader, it's like running a ship. And Noe comes out and he sits next to me. He goes, "Hey, my name's Noe," and I'm on the phone and I'm like, "Hi, Noe, I'm on the phone." "Oh, okay, I'll just wait." And you're just like, "Fuck, one of these guys." And as I'm sitting there talking to regional VP, I think it was Roseanne or Sherry or something, and having a conversation, Noe's sitting there, and his arms are crossed. He's in a defensive position. He's tapping his foot, and I'm just like, "Yeah, Sherry, I gotta go." And I got the phone. I'm like, "Yeah, Noe, what's up?" He goes, hey, I just want to let you know my name's Noe, and it's good to meet you. I said, yeah, okay. Good to meet you. He's like, yeah, I'm one of your creatives. I said, great, thanks, man. And you know, even back then, I'm kind of like I am now. Great, shut the fuck up and go back into the meeting, right? Leave me alone. That's the way I am. That's who I am. I didn't say that. Like, no, it's great to meet you. Thanks so much, but I'm kind of busy right now. Go back in. Why are you out of the meeting? So like, I just wanted to talk to you about the lead creative position. And I'm like, okay, here we go. You've been here for 2 minutes. You just were hired, and now you want to vie for the lead creative position. No, you're not ready. You don't know a thing about Apple. I don't know who the fuck you are. You're not ready. It's one of the biggest positions in the store. You literally control the entire education process of our customers. You don't know dick. Get out of my face. Shut up. I'm not a guy who likes gumption. Just leave. But of course, that's who I am. So who I want to be is, well, Noe, I really appreciate that. Thanks so much. He's like, and I want to talk to you about Esmeralda. I don't think she's lead creative quality. Oh boy. This is what gets Matt in trouble. I said, that's interesting. And so I started asking questions. I said, how old is Esmeralda? What's her daughter's name? What's her husband's name? Is she a single mom? Where has she lived? What's her education? How many core classes has she been through? How many times has she done lead generative creative presentations inside of a store? What are her overall sales numbers? What are her customer participation rates? What do people think of her? What are her NPS scores? And Noe's like, I don't know anything about that. And I said, you don't know anything about anything else. Go back in the room and shut up and sit down. And the next time you want to vie for a lead creative position, put the work in and apply for it like everyone else instead of coming out here and sucking up to me. Now get out of my face. That's what I said to him. I was known as a leader who people wanted to work for but hated to work for because I was honest, as I'm honest with you. And that's the way I talk to my employees. And whether it's good or bad, at least you knew what you always were going to get, the truth. No, he didn't like the truth. And although I had 108 people who thrived in that situation and thrived in that environment because they always knew where they stood. And if they were a suck up, they got knocked down. And if they just did their job, they were recognized and rewarded. That's the way it was. That's the way it was. Noe went down on a spiral from there. Noe had some problems with domestic abuse. Noe did one thing well. He loved his children. And I believe he had 3 or 4. He didn't get along with his wife. They constantly fighted. She got a restraining order against him, and he went through a lot in his life. And I'm reminiscent of it, and I'm reflective of it now. And I think about those times a lot. And I wonder, what could I have done better? And was I the best version of myself to help Noe? And the answer is no. He was an insatiable dick. And he was unfixable. The man was late 26 times in 1 month. From he had to fight a fire on the road to he got 4 flat tires coming down the grapevine to he was held at knife point and carjacked. All lies. He was completely a pathological liar, a narcissist of the nth degree, and he hated me. And although he would say to my face, Matt, I respect you. I admire the things you've done in the military. I know the things you've done with the police departments and everything else. He hated me because I always told him the truth. And we would fight incessantly. And one day I was in a Best Buy in New Mexico, and I was still traveling back and forth each week. Every Friday I would leave, I'd fly home, I would get a day and a half, and then I'd go back to Bakersfield. And he was late again. Or he wanted to trade shifts. He wanted to trade shifts. And this was like the 17th time. And our schedules work through the Chrono system at Apple, and they're very specifically designed for the clientele that comes in. And it uses your strengths rated on a system to fulfill what the overall traffic is going to look like. And it's very, very accurate. And sales are never something you talk about at Apple, but you're always focused because the scheduling is the key piece to achieve the best outcome for your store, and it works flawlessly. Well, he would always change, and it would put people in binds. So I finally told him, and he's on the phone. I said, and they call in. He goes, Matt, Noe wants to change his schedule. We've said no, but he won't have any of it. And I said, put him on the phone. I said, Noe, you got two choices. Work your fucking schedule or quit. And I hung up. About 5 minutes later, I get a phone call from Human Resources, and that this guy's making a stink. And my boss says, dude, this is Apple. You're right. We know you're right. You got to be careful with Noe. He's raising a stink. And I said, let him raise a stink. I don't give a shit. My shit's airtight. Sherry's like, Matt, you have to understand the way Apple works, and they will always choose the employee over you. And I said, I don't care. I'm right. He's wrong. Arrogant. I was arrogant. So that was really the first talking to I got of, you got to try to make it work with him. This guy was absent constantly, late for his shift constantly, telling employees to fuck off on the middle of the floor, telling customers that they were old and take their computer and shove it up their ass. I mean, this guy was literally meltdown city, and he was always nuts. He was just nuts. I was so afraid that this guy, I lived in California. I'm just going to say it right now. I carried in that store every single day, even though it was illegal in California and you could not carry, because I was so terrified that this guy was going to come in and kill everybody. This is the type of guy that shoots up places. And lo and behold, I was right in a different sort of way. And I'll tell you how. But this is the guy that would do that. And I knew that. And I knew the threat. And I cared about my kids. And they were like my kids. I loved the people I worked with. After 2 years, we were able to fire Noe finally in the state of California. 2 years. His folder was like this. So many write-ups, so many counselings, so many coachings, and they would never green light his termination. I will tell you how bad Apple is. I will only give you the first name. Andrew, came to work for us on day one at that little seminar I told you about. He came to work for us. He sat down in the chair at orientation with 125 other people we hired. And Andy steps up and limps over to me and says, I had surgery on my foot. It really, really hurts. Can I go home? And I said, sure, dude. Get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. That's the way it was. He goes home. I didn't see him again for a year. He went on leave. The first day he worked for Apple, Apple paid his salary for a year. He didn't work a day. Had worked for Apple for 5 minutes. And this guy, like others, hunt companies, gets in there, then goes and takes leave and takes extended disability, and Apple pays it. Other companies do it. Google, Facebook, they don't have to. That's just what they do. This guy went on a year's leave, never worked for Apple one day, and then and I had to give up one of my seats in my stores for him. He was a creative, and we ran one short for a year because Apple won't backfill. And you got to pay his payroll because that's how they are. It's no joke. So we finally fire Noe, and HR calls me and they say, hey, you need to say the following. Noe, we regret to inform you that your employment with Apple has ended today. We value you. We have a separation package for you, which is like 90 days of pay. It's the most ridiculous thing in the fucking world. 90 days with pay. You're going to have to return your uniform, blah, blah, blah. Thank you. Have a nice day. And then his comment was, what am I fired for? And I said, Noe, your termination with Apple is at an end. If you have any questions, you can contact HR. What the fuck am I fired for? Noe, your termination with Apple is final. If you have any questions, you can contact. So you don't have a reason. Noe, your termination is final. And I was told to say nothing other than this. Because if I did, I opened us up for lawsuit. So he goes and storms. He kicks in one of the locker room doors, punches it 3 times, goes out the emergency exit, trips the whole alarm, and leaves. A series of death threats came to me after that. And of course, I was friends with all the sheriff's department. And I had all of his texts. And said something to the effect of, one day, I hope you get what's coming to you, and a stray bullet pierces your spine, and the fact that you're not going to be able to walk soon anyway with your back will finally come to fruition, and you'll be in a wheelchair the rest of your life and you'll be miserable. And I'm like, okay, that's enough to go ahead and call the cops. So I did. They went over his house and they came back and told me, they were like, yep, he was cleaning guns when we went to his house. He had his safe wide open and he was at his table in his apartment and he was cleaning a shotgun and other guns. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So I call my uncle and I'm like, dude, this is what's going on. He's like, come with me. Took me down to the store, picked up a couple of sidearms. And he talked to his cop friends. And the hilarious thing is every 15 minutes by my house, I saw one of the police officers. That's just my uncle, because he knows all those guys would drive by my house, and I saw them more frequently than ever before. And I know that was my uncle. I don't even have to ask. He never would tell me because he knows that I was a man who wanted to stand on my own volition, but he was a great man. Noe didn't talk to me after that. He didn't try to talk to me. In fact, I haven't spoken to Noe in, I don't know, 10 years, 8 years, 9 years, whatever. And occasionally one of my ex-employees will reach out to me and they'll call. And this happened last week. A guy named Ramiro, who I knew, who just nice guy, avid gun collector, Bakersfield, went through COVID, fought it, went to the hospital, thought we were going to lose him, but he's just a good guy, nice guy. He reaches out to me and goes, have you talked to Noe lately? And I'm like, I know where this conversation's going. There's no reason for anyone to reach out to me 8 years later and ask if I've talked to Noe. I know Noe either went in and shot a bunch of people or he killed himself. And I know this. That's the only reason. And lo and behold, he took his own life. And I thought about it. And the first thing, and it's not the first time I've had an ex-employee take their life. I'm certainly not a Hillary Clinton, but, you know, when you work with 30,000 some odd people in your career, you're gonna check the box a couple times when it comes to death. But I realized that when I was asking myself, was this your fault? Did you do something? Could you have done something more for Noe? I answered a simple question in my soul and said, no, you didn't cause this. There was a gentleman named Dan who took his own life, who worked for Game Crazy, who was a friend of ours, and I had to let him go and fire him. And a year later, after getting his life together, he wanted to come back, and I wouldn't let him come back. And that one I probably should have. I should have found a way, because I went and got people their jobs back before and fought for them who made mistakes. But with Dan, it was pride. And I felt that he abandoned our team, and I didn't let him come back, and he shot himself. And although a lot of that had to do with his girlfriend and everything else and other things in his life, I still feel somewhat responsible, and I will always carry that with me. With Noe, I didn't. There's nothing I could have done to help Noe. In fact, the reason I bring this up and this whole conversation is there are times where people are who they are, and they're never going to be who they want to be. And those are the people you need to shed from your life. Those are the people you need to leave. You need to get away from them, because those people are truly cancerous. Those people are the ones who are going to bring you down from being able to achieve what you want to achieve. Those are the scary ones. And everyone knows who I'm talking about. Everyone has that person in their life. So to bring it back to the beginning, when I was talking about where were you on November 15th? Was it the 16th, the 15th? It doesn't matter. As J6, this will be N6 or N16. Last night, when a group of people violently attacked police officers, violently protested the war in Israel because of the violence with more violence. These are people who are searching for who they want to be. And they are so desperate to find who they are, they're willing to follow other people who have no idea who they are. This is an epidemic in this country, that we follow people who have no idea where or who they are to identify who we should be and where we should be. I don't know what caused this in this country, but the epidemic I'm speaking of has exponentially gotten worse. There used to be a time where you would sit down with your mom and dad and they would say, not yet. Hold. Okay, go get him. And whether that be the slide or the jungle gym, whether that be getting your first job or getting married or having kids or going to college or whatever it would be, your parents were very good at holding you back and directing you in the right way. Somewhere, something changed. And parents no longer became a viable option. They became cheerleaders versus coaches. And parents started cheering for their kids. Like Bill Cosby himself. In his wonderful skit where he's coaching his wife through Lamaze and push, shove him out, push him out, way out, push him out, shove him out, way out. And instead of being a coach, okay, honey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and do a uteral formation. We're going to go ahead and squeeze every 30 seconds on demand. We're not going to push. We're just going to squeeze and we're going to breathe. Push. You became a cheerleader. Okay, baby, we can do it now. Come on now. Come on, I know it hurts. Come on now. Come on, get that baby out. Come on now, let's get that baby out. And we've changed. And we're no longer coaches. We're cheerleaders. We can't tell people, you know what? Come here. What are you doing? Why the hell are you going left when you're supposed to do a veer right? Quarterback is in the pocket. He's on his opposite side. He can't see you on his blind side. You need to cut this. What are you doing? Sit your ass on the bench. I'll get you in the game whenever you stop being a complete fucking idiot. Pardon the French. My coaches were straightforward. We stopped doing that. Now it's, come here. Do you need a kiss on your boo-boo? Congratulations. Minus 16 yards and 4 sacks. Go to the showers. You did such a good job. You did an A+ at getting an F. That was the best F I've ever seen. I'm going to give you a button. Come here. Give me a hug. Go hit the showers, big guy. What the hell's wrong with us? You're being led by people who have no idea who they are, and they are not trying to be who they want to be. They're just bad at parenting, or they're bad at being a friend, or they're bad at giving you what you need to be successful. There's a problem with that, right? There's a problem with people just sitting and telling you whatever you want to hear. I won't do that on this show. So now to really bring it full fold, as Olivia was looking and not smiling, they want to know why she's not smiling. You want to know why? As she stood up and walked away, I went and I said, hey, why didn't you like that conversation with words? It was really a good one. And she goes, because I can't respect somebody who won't tell their audience to shut up when they're being disrespectful dicks. Holy crap, Liv. What are you talking about? She's like, you don't placate your audience. When your audience says something rude or dismissive or stupid, you call them out on it. And you're not afraid to lose viewers by being honest. Wurs has all his little friends there, and they're being completely disrespectful to my daughter, to me, to you, to our listeners, and they come in and they storm into our chat, and he doesn't have the common decency to tell them to stop because he's scared of losing them. He's weak, and he's a weak man. And I don't like weak men. I'm like, honey, why didn't you say that on the fucking show? Because that would have been gold. She's like, I don't have to say that on the show. Because he knows it. That's why he's here insulting me and insulting my daughter and insulting you and allowing his users to do it. Olivia knows who she wants to be. And she is being who she wants to be. And that's one thing that nobody can take away from her. She's comfortable being where she is. She's comfortable being a housewife. She's comfortable listening to my bullshit every single day. She's comfortable with what she has, and she is her own woman, and she is powerful and smart and gorgeous. And I don't care what a 24-year-old boy thinks about her, because the one thing I will never be embarrassed about is my wife, because she's never embarrassed me. Never. And there's a level of comfort that you can achieve. And now to really bring it full circle, and everyone goes, well, geez, Matt, how does he do that? How does he start with a conversation and then go off on 50 different topics and bring it home? Because unlike George Lucas, I close my plot holes. Okay? I know where I'm going. It may seem like a disheveled mess, but there is a lesson herein that you need to listen to the whole thing to understand. But even if you didn't, I'll bring it back to the last thing. The people on January 6th, I don't know any of them. I mean, I know people who were there, and I've talked to people who went to prison, and I talked to Capitol Police, but I don't know anybody, like know them. I have to look at this through the eyes of ignorance. I have to look through it through the eyes of youth. And some people who will never, ever know who they are. A bunch of noes. In January 6th, there were a bunch of noes. And some of them were 40, 50 years old, and they're not trying to be who they want to be. They're just being who they are. And they're not helpable. And those people deserve to be in prison. I'm sorry. As much as the people in Atlanta, the 23 Antifa who attacked the police training ground, they need to be in jail for the rest of however long their sentence is. And as the people in J6 who were convicted, they need to be in prison. I'm sorry, they do. Whether you agree or not, it matters not to me. Because that shit shouldn't be tolerated in this country. Ever. What are we, France? Give me a break. I'm not saying that people don't have a right to protest, but there is a difference between protest and rioting. And a lot of that took place. I don't even care about the people who never went inside. You climbing all over the walls and scuffing the marble and scuffing the nation's capital and showing disrespect to the statues and the staircases and the building exterior and interior. Fuck you. Fuck you, man. That's our home. That's our capital. In that piece of shit swamp, that's the nation's capital. That's our country. How dare you? You've obviously never stepped foot in Washington, D.C. It's fucking awe-inspiring. It is our history. It is where we were born. And you may not like the people in it, and I agree with you, but they are there temporary. The rest of it, those buildings, those monuments, that testimony is there for fucking ever. And you should respect it. How dare you? How dare you go to our nation's capital and be what you hate about it? Be a part of the swamp. Be the muck. Be the drudgery. Be a bunch of petulant little shits running around and throwing a fucking temper tantrum. I don't respect any of you. I think you're all pieces of shit. There, I said it. How does that feel? I think anyone who participated in J6 at that level and did any of those things that I mentioned are complete dingleberries, okay? Now, for the 60,000 some odd people who were there who listened to Donald Trump and left, good for you. Congratulations. Welcome to America. For the people that marched along the Capitol and just went along, congratulations. Welcome to America. For the people who didn't violate and desecrate the grounds of that beautiful testament to our country and our history, congratulations. But for the people who tried to break through doors, for the people who tore down fences and went after cops and used fucking flagpoles and created a violent situation, fuck you. I think you're a waste. I think you're a fucking waste of life. I think you're a Noe. And you're unhelpable. This is who you are. And for the people who went ahead and did 200 and some odd riots with over $2.5 billion in damages, Summer of Love, who threw feces at cops, bottles of ice at cops, lit shit on fire, threw bricks through windows, set buildings on fire, looted mom and pop businesses, stomped people you disagree with, beat the shit and curb stomped out of anyone wearing a red hat or who had a Haitian flag in your neighborhood, fuck you too. And for the people last night who thinks that Israel is creating genocide and murdering people for the sake of a whim, have completely missed the plot. And maybe their heads are so far up their ass that their blue eyes are now brown, that don't realize that what happened to predicate this? What happened before this? Are we the type of people that try to defuse a bomb that's already gone off? Are you even aware of what took place and what they did? I want you to imagine a bunch of crazy maple syrup fucking Canucks coming down from north of the border, snatching our people, beheading them, raping them, lighting them on fire, cutting them apart with fucking swords, emptying magazines into their body, decapitating their fucking heads, taking 33 of them back up to Canada, and you want us to do what? Take David Hasselhoff on a peace mission to go and fucking talk to them? Go get Bryan Adams in the summer of '69 and have him sing a benefit concert? You want us to get Ryan Reynolds to go ahead and do Deadpool 4 and make it about the situation? What do you want? Maybe Alanis Morissette's available and she can come and her and Bryan Adams can do a benefit concert. No, what you would call for is flat in Montreal, flat in Vancouver. Because that's what you wanted with Baghdad. That's what you wanted with Kabul and Afghanistan. That's what you've been calling for Iran with their nuclear program. I mean, seriously? Are we going to sit here and pretend that we didn't call for the same thing after 9/11? When George Bush stood on that rubble and said they'll all hear us soon, and everyone applauded. Everyone knew what that meant. Everyone knew what that meant, that we were going to flatten anyone who was involved in this. We didn't do that because Saudi Arabia is still standing. But hello? Can we stop pretending that Palestine is not synonymous with Hamas? The worst possible thing that we could have ever done and that Israel did is to try to differentiate between Palestine and Hamas because they're the same thing. They're synonymous. 91% of the adults living in Palestine, in Gaza, and West Bank support the eradication of Jews through Hamas. 91%. Sounds like we need to thin out the herd. Sounds like we need to thin out the herd. If you support terrorists, you are a terrorist. I'm sorry. And until you've faced evil, you have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Until you've looked across the table and seen someone who wants to eradicate you from the planet simply because you are not them. You have no idea what you're talking about. I am so tired of these keyboard fucking warriors who have never spent a minute outside of the United States that want to try to lecture me about terrorism. I can't stand, as somebody who has no legs because of terrorists who sit next to me, who's not here today, who had his legs ripped from his body from a terrorist IED, and you're going to try to fucking educate him about terrorism? You're going to tell him what it's all about, huh? You're going to try to explain to him what's going on in Ukraine when he was there 3 months ago. You're going to try to explain to him what it looks like in Israel and tell me what the Israeli people are all about and the IDF and Mossad when I worked with both of those units? That's what you're going to tell me? You know more than me, huh? Why? Because you watched a video from Al Jazeera? You watch Palestinian state media and you think you understand what's going on? You understand weapon ordnance? You understand the dynamic properties of different weapon systems and what they can and can't do? For these kids who are attacking police officers and marching in the streets, all they're trying to do is figure out who they are because they don't know. They have no clue. And those are the people that you shouldn't spend time on. Those are the people who you need to cut out of your life. Because I'm telling you right now, every single person is trying to find out who they are and they're trying to emulate who they want to be. And then there's a group of people who are trying to destroy you from doing that. Those are the people that should not garner your attention. But they do. And we give it to them, and we give them life, and we give them purpose, and we give them meaning. When we glorify these shooters who come in and take innocent babies' lives and teachers and women and children and destroy them at 3,200 fucking miles an hour, we emulate and put them all over the TV and create 100 more like them. When we focus and we give TV time to these Palestinian protesters and we show what happens in England and France and other countries, they emulate and do it here too. When these people have no idea where Palestine is, let alone what it stands for, because they watch some video of some guy on YouTube like me who tells them Palestine has a claim to the land, and they actually believe it. When somebody comes on and says this is genocide, innocent people are being killed, therefore it's ethnic cleansing. Do you realize that if Israel wanted to ethnically cleanse the West Bank and Gaza, that it would take them about 15 minutes? They have the weapon systems, 15 minutes. If you want to eradicate Palestinians, if you want to destroy Hamas, if you want to end and completely take all Arabs out of West Bank and Gaza, it would take them 15 minutes. People die in war. I don't know where you've been. I don't know what this generation, if they've never read a book, but anyone who watched CNN for the last 25 years, 30 years, this is pretty common. In fact, the numbers that you're hearing happen in Ukraine and Russia all the time. 250,000 Ukrainians are reported dead. Is anyone flipping the fuck out over this? Why aren't people protesting, calling for a ceasefire with Russia and Ukraine? Have you seen one protest? No, 15 minutes. You got to get your people in Israel out. You got to get them under underground bunkers. You got to get them protected. You got to get the prime minister out, secretary of defense out. You need to get the vice minister out. 15 minutes. That's what it would take. Get them secure, and then you could take out West Bank and Gaza in a flash. And you could do it with very low. They have weapon systems that can flatten all of that in a very quick period of time, and it's non-nuclear attacks. Israel has access to Moabs. United States has no problem giving them access to Moabs. Now, if they do that, they'll be in a shitstorm. But the whole point is, if you wanted to ethnically cleanse, they could have done it. Here's the truth. If they would have done this in the first 72 hours and gone in and carpet level bombed everything and just fucking flattened it, nobody would be saying a fucking word. But because they've had a feeling to soften up, because we let our feelings in, because we started to go ahead and it's not all Palestinians. Not all Palestinians are terrorists. Some of them are innocent. What about the children? Yeah, listen, I'm with you. I don't want kids to die. Are you fucking stupid? Of course not. But what do you want? What's the alternative? They've tried peace. They've tried prosperity. They tried building relationships. They tried allowing 80,000 to come in on work furloughs and work permits. What did they do? They used those 80,000 to go ahead and spy and draw plans on how best to attack them. We've given them aid. We've given them the pipes. They made rockets. We gave them money. We gave them food. They stole it from the people. You can't negotiate with terrorists, folks. You don't understand. Every time you give them anything, they're going to use it for terror because that's what terrorists do. I don't understand what's so hard about this. Israel has done everything it can to reduce the amount. They have given them more notice than the United States has given anybody, than England or Germany or France or Russia or China or Japan or Turkey, Pakistan, India, North Korea, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Syria, the Congo, Egypt. In the history of war, Israel has given more notice and more carte blanche and by your leave to the enemy than any other country in history, and we're still complaining. What do you want them to do? Wait forever? Until we just forget about it and they build it back up again and do it again in another 5 years? You can't have peace with peoples whose entire motivation and predilection is war and terror. There are no rules. It's interesting. You want us to have rules in a game where the rules were established that there are no rules. You had people come in the most vile way possible to kill as many innocent people and snatch as many innocent people as possible, and now you want rules? The Palestinian people knew what they were getting when they elected Hamas. Hamas was a terrorist organization before they put them in power 17 years ago, and they've been that ever since. At any time, people could have revolted against Hamas. At any time, they could have worked for Mossad. They could have went to Israel. They could have sought asylum. They could have went ahead and flipped on Hamas and give specific locations as to where they are. 2021, they flattened those tunnels. A lot of people believe that the United States built the tunnels and supported Hamas. I think people need to understand that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Benjamin Netanyahu creating Hamas, Israel creating Hamas is true. Netanyahu didn't create Hamas. Netanyahu did not. Israel did. And Israel supported Hamas. We created Al-Qaeda and ISIS too. We're going to go ahead and hold ourselves responsible for 9/11 and everything that happened in Bahrain, the USS Cole, the previous tower bombings. Is that all the United States' fault? Well, if you want to go back on a long enough timeline, then nobody's innocent. We have to stop pretending that this is the most important thing, because it's not. It's sad that people are dying, but these protesters will find something else to hate. Imagine if Donald Trump gets in office. All of these people who are wearing red, black, and green right now will be wearing red and black for Antifa this time next year. The same people who are protesting this, calling for a ceasefire, will be protesting the next time a cop has to fire on an unarmed black person. But will have no desire to protest the 68 that were killed in Chicago last weekend. It's a long intro. Let's get to the video. Take a watch on this. This is interesting. Tell me what you think. Is this insurrection? I hope they didn't take it down. Daily Mail has a piece on it that I read this morning.
Get back, guys.
Wow, it's a bunch of white women and white guys. I've never seen so many white people upset since a Democratic Klan rally. There's a bunch of white people upset. Go figure. Where are all the Palestinians? I'm looking. I'm checking off the box right here. Ready? Not a Palestinian. 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 Nope, nope, nope. Nope. Go in and move me and see. Palestinian behind here? Nope. Nope. Where are all the Palestinians? See this lady right here? She was actually interviewed, and she has the balls to say this was peaceful. Can you guys see this right here? Her. I get it. I'll try to find the interview. She was on Fox this morning, and she said, "This was peaceful. This is peaceful. This is fucking peaceful. Really? This is what peace looks like." Yeah. It's just a peaceful protest. She said, "We were trying to be heard by the Democratic Committee. They're not doing what we want." What the fuck do you want them to do? Please explain to me how you want Democrats to have Israel stop fucking hitting Palestine, and how is that supposed to happen? Really? The Democrats are the only one who are fighting this. They voted against H.R. 771. They don't want to fund it. The Democrats are the only ones who don't want to be involved in this. I'm not defending the Democrats. I'm just saying, why aren't you somewhere? Why don't you go to the RNC? Why didn't you go to Johnson's office? Why don't you go to the speakers? Why are you fighting the DNC here?
Oh shit! Someone just got thrown.
Bummer.
People getting thrown down the stairs. People.
These are fucking unhinged nut jobs. This is why mental health clinics need to be reestablished in the United States, mental institutions, so we can have a place to put these people. So what are you doing? You didn't give a shit about Palestine a month ago. You didn't even know where Palestine was. You had no idea. You thought Palestine was some fucking restaurant in downtown. Have you been to Palestine? No. Oh my gosh, their baklava is just amazing. Really? Oh yeah, it's baklava. It's just delicious. Oh, I'll go down there. Is it Greek? Yes, the Palestinians are Greek. Oh, wonderful. Do they have Indian cuisine? Sure. They've got curry. What about shepherd's pie? Of course, they've got a little Irish descent. What? You don't even know what Palestine was. You had no idea. Now, all of a sudden, it's worth you screaming and fucking getting arrested and beating up cops and just incessantly just all over the place? Give me a break. Give me a break. Oh shit, cops are doing cops things. Listen to this girl. What are you trying to say? What do you think's going to happen to you? You're going to go in the back of a cop car. You're going to get a disorderly conduct. You're going to get a ticket and you're going to be released. What are you melting down for? This shit is ridiculous. These people are lunatics. You could ask them a question and just be like, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Please tell me what type of government Palestine has. Could you please name 3 cities in the West Bank? Could you please name 5 sectors in Gaza? Sectors, not cities. Can you tell me if there are provinces in there? Can you tell me what color the sand is on the beaches in Gaza? Could you tell me what the predominant religion is in Gaza? Can you tell me what predominant language is in Gaza? Nobody knows. Nobody can answer those questions. Why? Because they don't care about Gaza. They don't care about West Bank. They don't care about Palestinians. They care about the paycheck they're getting to do this shit because this is paid opposition. These are all a bunch of white kids, overweight, purple-haired, needles in their noses, degenerates who believe that unicorns are real and that there are 64 fucking genders, and Tide Pods make a good midnight snack. These are the people leading the cultural revolution in this country. Give me a break. They don't know anything other than what they've been told, and they once again are being their real selves. This isn't who they want to be. They just don't know what to be, because they've been told their entire lives that they can sit around and play Nintendo and have their iPhones and their vehicles paid for by mommy and daddy, and that they're making a difference in the world, and that when they hit the real world, when they're 21 years old and they've graduated with their gender studies degree, that life is going to be thrown at them with all the opportunity that they can muster simply because they're star-spangled fucking awesome. And they've been lied to, and they're angry, and they're mad. And they want to hate their parents, but they can't because it's their best friend. So they have to hate you. And they have to hate your policies. And they have to hate what's going on in the world by throwing petulant temper tantrums and fucking punishing people who have no responsibility whatsoever for this war. If you want to protest and be mad at somebody, blame Hamas. You want to be mad at somebody, go blame Hamas. Those are the people you should be protesting. You shouldn't be going after Palestine. You shouldn't be going after Israel. You should be going after the people who caused this. Oh, yes, but Jews occupied Palestine. Bullshit. Give me a break. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything about this. And I've tried to have these conversations with you, and you won't engage with me because you know I will shellac you. These people are not protesting Palestine. They're protesting the own insignificance of their existence. They are protesting that they are infinitesimal warts on society's butt. And they're unhappy about that. And this is not how you're going to achieve Valhalla. You're not going to reach Shangri-La by protesting something that you don't know anything about. These are a bunch of white kids. Again, look at it. There is nobody of Arab descent in this crap. There's not one. They're a bunch of white kids. Show me the Palestinians. There are more Palestinian cops than there are protesters. All of these people are going to change their, it's like someone needs to do a comic. They need to show this and then having a fucking changing room where these people go in and change into their Antifa costumes, change into their BLM costumes, change into their pink vagina hat costumes. These are all fucking shills. These people are paid to be doing this. Because why? Because there aren't this many stupid people on the planet, man. And if there are, then I have no faith that we're getting out of this one alive. If this is what this generation is going to be, this is Gen X, then we're all screwed. Because I can't believe this is the way that most people are. I just can't. I can't believe there is this much stupidity in the world today. And if there is, we're in deep trouble. Sorry, it's going to play the music. Let me get that stopped. Maybe. So, is that insurrection? It sure looks like insurrection to me. That looks like insurrection. DNC headquarters. That's a political party. As much as Jamal Bowman pulling the fire alarm during legislation process, if that's not insurrection, then by osmosis, we have to let all J6ers off. And here's my thoughts. And I've already told you, I don't think J6ers should be left off. I think the people who are convicted should spend the rest of their time in jail that they have to serve. Good. You broke the law. See ya. Great. Now hold these people accountable. Arrest every single one of them for insurrection, hold them without habeas corpus indefinitely, charge them as domestic terrorists, and go ahead and throw the motherfucking book at them. Every one of them. Because it's insurrection. You define the rules. You establish the norm. You have established precedent. Hold them accountable the same way. How is that not insurrection? They hit cops. They threw things at cops. They did an illegal protest. They broke things. It was in front of a political building that's leased by the Democrat National Convention and the Democrat Party, who proposed legislation in the United States. And what is different? I'll tell you what's different. Those are acceptable forms of discourse for Democrats, just not for Republicans. I want to be clear. This isn't an episode to support J6ers. I condemn J6ers, and I condemn those people. And I condemn anyone who uses violence as a tool, because in the end, you're protesting against what you are. You're fucking terrorists too. Every one of you. And you're one step away from bombing buildings. You're one step away from taking innocent lives, because you're so myopic in your thought process and so indoctrinated into this belief structure that really stands for nothing, that you will realize that nothing you will do will change a fucking thing. So you'll start taking people's lives until you're heard. That's a terrorist. And those people are one step away from that. You want to see what domestic terrorism in the United States looks like? It's not me. It's not my mom. It's not my dad. It's not my sister. It's not my brother. It's not your neighbor. It's not you. It's not the people who are challenging the school boards. It's not the people who go into Washington and say, wait a second, I don't understand what's happening. I have questions. It's not the people who are challenging what the vaccine does and what it doesn't. It's not the people who say, I don't want to wear a mask, and you can't tell me to do that. I don't want to wear one. You can tell me not to go into those businesses, fine, I won't. But you're not going to arrest me because I won't get a shot. You're not going to fire me because I won't get a shot, because it's my choice. Whether that choice is stupid or wrong, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to do it. No, you're not going to take my guns away. No, you're not going to limit my speech. No, you're not going to take away my rights. Those rights are for me, not for you, and they're to keep you in check. The Constitution of the United States has nothing to do with the government. It is absolutely antithetical to the government, and it stops the government. No more. I am not a domestic terrorist because I want to question why the FBI seems to care about certain things and doesn't care about others. I'm not a domestic terrorist to wonder why 76,000 IRS agents are being armed and being hired. Why we go ahead and pay for that, but we refuse to use some of that money for Israel. If Israel is so important, why the fuck are we not spending that money on something that's better? If it is the most important thing to us is Ukraine and Israel, then why are we diverting any money to anywhere else? Why is the IRS being funded? Why is the IRS being armed? Who are we going after? And why? So what we do is we forgive and we allow people to be tax evaders. We ignore credit card debt. We don't allow them to collect rent on people. We stop the people's ability to make money in businesses, and then you punish them for it by getting 87,000 IRS agents to go after them. When is this other ball going to drop? When is this other shoe going to drop? When is the government going to stop allowing people to default on their credit cards and their home loans, and this unending level of forgiveness where trillions of dollars has been just somehow magically forgiven of all people, including myself? $37,000 credit card I put on is gone. I can't pay it off. I've asked them, I want to pay this money. We closed the account. Well, why? Because you didn't make a payment for 3 months. I said, yes, but we had worked that out. We had deferred payments. We made the minimum payments. We told you this, that there was a hardship. We lost our job during COVID. We're rebuilding. We've got your back. We're up current on every other bill: house payment, water, electricity, any other credit card we have, car loans. We're up to date. I called up Chase and I said, I want to pay this $37,000 back to you. You know what they said? The account's been closed. It's been paid. By who? Who paid it? We didn't ask you to do that. We asked you to hold it for 90 days. Until we restructured our finances. It's all gone. Why? Why are people 2 years without making a house payment? Who's paying for that? It's all taken care of, the banks say. Why? By who? By you. Your tax dollars are paying for that. I don't want that. I don't want any. I have tried to pay this incessantly. Chase is like, it's been paid for. It's taken care of. Your account's been closed. It's been forgiven. Why? Why has it been forgiven? I didn't ask for that. 2019, IRS made a mistake. And when H&R Block submitted our taxes, they came back and said, you owe $10,000. You know what I did? I paid it. This year, we had $14,000 in taxes I had to pay out of pocket after paying almost $56,000 in taxes. You think your taxes are fucking bad? I probably paid more taxes than you make in a year. I paid it. I just wrote the check this morning. $14,632.12 some odd cents to the state and federal government. And donating over $1,300 to Travis Banyan Foundation will be my next check. I don't want anyone to pay that for me. When is the government going to say, you know what, enough forgiveness, now it's time to pay up? And what is that going to look like? What happens when they knock on your door? What happens when they say, hey, here's the receipt for your time off from COVID. Here's the receipt for our mistakes of shutting down your business. It's time to pay up. I'm one of the 87,000 IRS agents, and you're going to lose your home unless you pay us this amount. You don't think that's going to happen? Since when has the federal government ever worked for you? Give me a break. You just wait. Because why would they, unless that's the solution that they're looking for? We're going to talk about one more thing. I thought this was a fiery show. Thought it was a good show. Let me go check my Spreely and see if we're still on. I'm going to add 30 minutes. To my Spreely users, sometimes I can't get to the computer and add on. Sometimes we go on for a while. If that happens, you can stop by over on Facebook. You can go over to Twitter. You can go to YouTube and Rumble. You can see us there and pick up the show right where you left off if you're over on Spreely. I know our Spreely network is slowly growing, and it's not where it needs to be yet, but we're going to get there. We're drinking milk. Got to add another 30 minutes to the show. Sorry we didn't have Mike on. Mike is in Florida. He's doing his sled hockey. And we're going to talk about China. I will take some call-ins. I'm going to turn on the lines right now. So call-ins are on. You can dial into the show, 804-212-2208, or you can use the URL, which is right here, to come on video. If you want to talk about what I talked about today, you want to tell me I'm a jerk, you can tell me whatever you want. No, that's the passcode to the channel. This is the link. You can click that. Let's finish this up. Got a couple of other things. You guys may have seen this, Gavin Newsom. I want to show you something from conservative, I think her name's Conservative Mama. I shared this on my channel. And dare I say it's pretty good. I hope that she sees this and doesn't hit me with copyright infringement because I am supporting your page, ma'am. She does follow my page and I follow her page. Actually, she doesn't follow me. She doesn't follow anybody. But I follow her page because I don't hold grudges. She is hilarious. And I have become a fan of her crazy. Conservative Mama is her name, spelled just like it sounds. You can find her on Facebook. She does some very high quality videos that are just awesome. I want to get her on the show. I'm sure she'll see this because it'll copyright flag, and I'm hoping it does. And when she looks at it, she'll figure it out. Yeah, I'll talk about red flag. Timothy, why don't you call in and you can ask me about it and tell me specifically what you're talking about. First, let's do Conservative Mama because I love this. This is her rendition of Gavin Newsom. If you haven't seen it, go throw her a like and a share on my page. Like I said, she does podcasts all over the country. I'm sure she'll do mine and would love to sit down with her because she seems pretty hilarious. But this is the video. She is imitating Gavin Newsom and his reaction to bringing Xi Jinping and China and sucking up to the CCP. Here it is.
Okay, are we ready? Are we ready? Let's start. Let's do this. Oh. This is not the flag I requested, guys. This is not the flag that I asked for. Yeah, just put the flag that I asked for. Just such incompetence, you guys. Okay, that's better. This isn't hard. Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright, and I'll say it. Some of you guys are saying that we cleaned up this absolute crap hole because some fancy leaders were coming into town. And that's true. Because it's true. Does anybody have like a comb? I usually have a comb and I just got a few flyaways. But you guys don't need to worry, okay? The homeless can go right back to being homeless right after the shindig is over, okay? I'm just asking you all to not defecate on the streets until after my buddy Xi Jinping is out of here, okay? Hey, Xi! I'm just kidding. If you have people over to your house, you're gonna clean up your house. I mean, does anybody really care about the people in their own home? It's the people coming over to your home. This is very simple. I got a good story for you guys. If you remember back in January, my buddy Xi flew around a few spy balloons over our country, collecting very sensitive information. And to repay him, I am rolling out the red carpet for him. Literally, it's a red carpet. Everything is red. Really, everything is red. I mean, go CCP, right? I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I'm good. I'm good.
Conservative Mama, if you haven't had a chance to take a look, you should. I got to pause the song. Sorry, it's going to play. I always forget to create a second window for this. I apologize. She's hilarious, man. You should go watch her. She's more of a man than Gavin Newsom is, for sure. If you hadn't seen, Gavin Newsom decided to play basketball with some kids and almost killed them because the man probably has never picked up a basketball in his life. Not necessarily the epitome of manliness, Gavin Newsom. And you might ask the question, well, what's the big deal? China came. Well, because if you have seen what China looks like, predominantly outside of the 9 major cities in China, which are some of the most luxurious and beautiful in the world, and they are. Chinese cities are gorgeous, and they have put a shit ton of the people's money, and the Communist Party has put an ungodly amount of money into the illusion of China being prosperous, where people visit and see. But if you go and look at the rural communities, these things are third world country level with power, irrigation, water. And that is most of China outside of the 9 cities. So when we sit here, and pretend that San Francisco isn't a complete shithole and a mess, which it is, and we decide to go ahead and clean it up, it always baffles me. Here's the thing. There's a movie called The Fugitive with Tommy Lee Jones and Harrison Ford. You may have seen it. And it's St. Patrick's Day in Chicago. And as these cops are driving by the river going through Chicago, they're dyeing it green, and it's bright green for the day. Now, of course, back then, they would just dump some sort of dye number 5 into it by the hundreds of gallons. Well, now, because it's eco-friendly, they don't do it anymore. But back then they did. And the guy's driving, he's like, dude, they dye it green. Why can't they dye it blue for the other 364 fucking days in the year? And it's a really good question. This reminds me of San Francisco. If you can clean it up for one day because Xi Jinping, a communist leader, a person who put a spy balloon over the United States and obviously tried to intercept information of communications in some of the most secure areas of our country from our nuclear silos, from a country which has indentured servitude from the Uyghurs and persecution of Muslims in their country and modern day slave camps in these Foxconn and development centers, creating mercantile for Apple and chips and phones and for Amazon. So Jeff Bezos and Tim Cook can get their stock prices fluctuating to the northern side of the aisle. It baffles me. I mean, we talk about freedom, right? We talk about this is fuck China. Why are you curtailing to China? What do you think this do you expect to go to China and see a bunch of American flags all over the place? Is that what you're actually gonna say? That you think that that's the probability? Now, I understand that these are Chinese nationals. I understand these are people who are going to celebrate China because their families are back in China and they're told that if they don't get out there with flags, that they're going to get a bullet in their head. Does anyone really believe that these people who are in the United States love China? No, this very small group of people celebrating Xi Jinping and the motorcade are probably have been threatened with their families' lives. These people left China. Maybe some of these people work for the embassy, but I don't see any American flags here. I don't see one. And I'm sorry, at least maybe what you could do is on the trees or on the traffic poles is get yourself some flag mounts and put some American flags with Chinese flags posterior to the American flag to show some unity if that's what you want to do. But even that goes too far. If you clean the dog shit and the human fecal matter off the roadside, if you put a fresh coat of paint on a pig or a junker, it's still a junker. I promise you this. Let me ask you this. Don't you remember when Ron DeSantis shipped out the homeless and put them in Martha's Vineyard? And what did the left say? Remember this whole thing? This is trafficking. Don't you remember when they said that? This is human trafficking, of course, right? Right, but you don't care about the human trafficking when it comes to people doing movies about it. And you say that it's all fake and it's all January 6th and Donald Trump conspirators. And there's no such thing as child sex trafficking. Don't you remember when that happened? But don't you also remember when DeSantis went ahead and shipped people from into Martha's Vineyard and they said that it was human trafficking and that they were going to go ahead and bring charges against them? It never happened, of course. It was all just pomp and circumstance. What happened to all the homeless people? Where are they? Where are the homeless people? Where did they put them? They put them in a concentration camp? Did they put them in maybe the COVID detention centers? Well, they put them in the Ritz-Carlton? Where are they? Seriously, listen to what I'm asking you. Hear what I'm saying. Where are the homeless veterans? Yes, I know the music's playing. I'm going to get that to stop. I got to fix that. Where are the homeless veterans? What did they do? Did they ask these people's permission? Did they shuttle them in a cattle car? Where are they? And why wasn't that process documented on the news? Don't you think that's newsworthy? The state government of California loaded homeless people, removed them from the streets by the thousands, relocated them somewhere, and nobody knows where they are. Where are they? Does anyone know? How long do they have room and board? What are they going to do when they are homeless again and released back into society? Where are their possessions? Has anyone seen the possessions of what homeless people look like? Have they seen the thousands of items that they have amongst their tents and shopping carts? Where are all those products? Where's that being housed? Did we throw it away? Where are they at? This isn't like some conspiracy bullshit from Maui. Where are the children? They're accounted for, you morons. These people who ask these questions about Maui. Oh, they were sex trafficking, so they created a major fire. You're fucking stupid. You're an idiot. Okay? I'm not talking about those people. I have a legitimate question. Where the fuck are the homeless people and the veterans and other homeless who are on the streets of San Francisco by the thousands who you have cleaned up for, relocated? When did it happen? Where are they? Maybe they're the ones holding the flags. I don't even think homeless people would hold a Chinese flag. What is going on here? And what's up with Newsom? Why does Newsom get to stand up there and be like, come on, this is just like cleaning your house. Cleaning your house. Listen, when I clean my house, I don't take my cat and take my lizard and relocate them when I have company, even though they make a big mess in my house. There's a litter box and then the cage. They shit everywhere, just like these human homeless people. I don't take my pets and just relocate them. I don't take all their possessions and make them disappear. I don't alter my home in order for appearances to change. Like, I don't have the red room of pain like in 50 Shades of Grey in my front room. And there's whips, chips, and dips and all this bullshit. And all of a sudden, when guests come over, I go ahead and I remove all that stuff. And I take my sex slave in the trunk and I remove them and take them to some undisclosed property. I don't cover up my indiscretion with a coat of paint and hide behind it and pretend it doesn't exist. You are hiding the worst parts of your country for a leader who has nothing to do with our country, who is not a person who we should admire and emulate. He's a fucking dictator. He's a socialist. He's a piece of shit. The atrocities that he puts upon his people are in the millions. He's somebody we should not emulate and covet and treat like the Pope. We shouldn't even treat the Pope like the Pope. Yet a foreign leader, a socialist dictator, comes onto our property and we treat him like he's Jesus. Where are our priorities? Where are our priorities? China? Really, what's next? You guys get upset because Donald Trump writes a letter to Kim Jong-un. This guy's literally sucking off China, and it makes it look like this is Tiananmen Square. And you guys are okay with this. It shows you where your priorities lie. It's obvious when the Democrats voted for against HR 771 funding Israel, but funds Ukraine. It's obvious where you stand when you host a foreign leader and treat him like he's Mickey Mouse, or it's a Tinker Tape parade. This guy is a dictator. He's a socialist. He's a threat, an existential threat to capitalism in this country. I wouldn't celebrate shit about him. I wouldn't even allow people to wear red. It's not even allow. This is what's wrong with this country today, is we don't have a backbone. Zero backbone. And we suck up to foreign leaders like this. We suck up to Zelensky and allow him to fly a Ukrainian flag on in the center where we bake the cake. And we allow the Democrats to surround themselves and drape themselves in a Ukrainian flag. What the fuck is going on? So let me get this straight. We burn the American flag and we drape ourselves in foreign flags, and we suck up to these foreign countries and we treat their leaders like they're ideologues. The demagoguery on display from the Democrats is repulsive. And Gavin Newsom is complicit. Gavin Newsom celebrates communist China because he wants California to resemble communist China. We know this with his policies. And now it seems like he's doing what the Uyghurs did. Where are the homeless? I want an accounting of the homeless people. And it's not like I care. Let's be honest. I don't care. Because I'm not going to sit here and be like the left and go and protest this and hold my breath and stomp my feet until I find out where the homeless are. I really don't care. I didn't care about them yesterday. I won't care about them tomorrow. I mean, I certainly am empathetic that you're homeless. Maybe you serve this country, or you're a drug addict, or you're mentally unstable. Okay, I'm sorry, but I got my own family to worry about. I can't worry about you. But at this point, in this moment, and with the nuance that's taking place, let's just assume I care for this moment. I won't care tomorrow. I didn't care yesterday. I care now. And I'm not going to go storm the Capitol, and I'm not going to go ahead and beat the shit out of cops in front of the DNC. But I'm just going to ask, where are the homeless people? Just because I'm trying to be the person I want to be, because I won't care tomorrow, but I care today. And I just have that question: where are they? What did you do with them? How did you do it logistically? Who paid for it? Did the taxpayers pay for this to clean up the entire city? How many millions of dollars? Can I get a receipt? How much did this cost? Because this is a national visit, was this paid for federally? And you want to know what you're going to find out next, because this is going to come out. The federal government paid for this. It wasn't California. And you're going to find that out. This would fall under federal government. You paid for this. This wasn't California. This wasn't the taxes from California. This is a national visit by Xi. And because of that, the federal government paid for this cleanup in San Francisco. They paid for this little summit. You want to bet that doesn't come out? And when it does, do what you always do and be like, wow, Matt has 150 viewers. He's sure crushing it. Nobody else is telling you that. I guarantee nobody's telling you that. Homelessness is not subject only to California. It's all over the country, and it needs to be addressed. Do you know how fast we could fix the homeless problem in the United States? For 1/1000th of what we spend on the defense budget, we could solve homelessness for 20 years in this country. There are plenty of areas that need stimulation. There's plenty of places that need an influx of people. There's plenty of people who need to get out of the big city and can work and can do things with the help of the government. With help. And not to subsidize these people, but to make an investment into these people, to give people a second chance, to give them a hand up, not a handout. Isn't that what conservatism is about? Isn't that what Christians are about? Shouldn't that fundamentally be our trope, considering we're the party of Christians, is to help our fellow man? Why do Democrats pretend that they help the homeless or help the minorities? They don't. Why aren't Republicans just absolutely taking this parameter that Democrats have pretended to own for 75 years? Why aren't Republicans saying, you know what, we're going to stop the homeless crisis in the United States? We're going to build properties. We are going to expect each state to give 1.25% of their overall revenue towards this, all 50 states. And yes, California, you guys are going to donate hundreds of millions, if not billions, while other states only invest millions. And that's just the way it's going to be. And we're going to make sure that we build locations and affordable housing. We're going to put these people on work programs and training programs. We're going to help them with a salary, and we're going to have them do tasks for the government. Whether it be wiping off solar panels, whether it be helping building roadways and bridges, whether it's doing data entry, whatever it is, we're going to create government bureaucracy and take it out of Washington, and we're going to bring it to your local towns and communities and start building in these areas that need help. And we're going to take some of these homeless people in these impoverished areas, and we're going to let the local community that are Black and Hispanic and Asian who are struggling in these areas, and we're going to start putting government buildings that are in Washington, D.C. and distributing it across the country to spread the wealth. So we stop the epicenter of the swamp. So we stop the bureaucracy in Washington and start allowing the states to benefit from federal government. And we're going to help these homeless people do, yes, some of this janitorial work, doing parking lot maintenance and things to that effect, that ultimately dock loaders, which are not the most luxurious jobs in the world, but it's better than sleeping in negative 16-degree weather. And the people who can't function and who have mental instability, we're going to put them where they deserve to be, which is hospitals. And we're going to start there. And we'll worry about all these other white fucking liberals who just create these drama-filled events like last night later. But let's take care of the low-hanging fruit, which is the homeless people who are struggling the most. And we're going to separate them into people who need mental health and the people who need just a hand up. And we're going to stop homelessness. Why is that a liberal idea? Because liberals aren't doing it. So you can't sit here and say, oh, that's a bleeding heart liberal. No, it's not, because they're not doing it. That's a Christian value. That is something Christians would do. Got a phone call. Let's see who it is. Caller, where are you from?
That's a Christian value.
Chris, you got to turn down your show. Got to turn down the show, big guy.
I just did.
All right.
I just did, sir.
Who am I talking to?
This is Timothy Joyce.
Timothy Joyce, you want to talk about red flag laws, yeah?
I sure do, buddy.
What do you want to talk about specifically? Have at it, and I'll see if I can chime in and keep up with you.
Virginia just started this legislature, enacted this law in January this year. And currently I'm being wrote up on a red flag, emergency protective order, and it stems through the red flag. And it's in retaliation because I'm going through a divorce. And I just want to know your opinion. What do you think about how easy it could be for someone to abuse this red flag law?
Yeah. Well, we got to get specific if you don't mind. Are you willing to do that?
I can't talk too much,
Okay.
really get into much depth on the hearing that's coming up in November.
Okay.
28th of November. But yes, I'm more than happy.
Let me ask you a question. I'm just going to ask a question, and it'll be simple and easy. Was there any domestic violence involved in this order? Can I ask that? Or accusations?
You can ask that. There were no domestic violence whatsoever involved in this.
Perfect. And
none.
So obviously, we were to assume that the other party in this divorce contacted the authorities and made some comments possibly that you might be a danger to yourself or other people, and then red flag was put into place. Is that surmise, or is it more in depth than that?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right. So I will say this. I'm not a supporter of red flag laws in any way, shape, or form. I believe that red flag laws are against our constitutional rights, because if it only impacted the guilty, then I would be fine with that. But with red flag laws, it is going to impact the innocent. Let me give you an example. My wife suffered from postpartum depression when she had Ethan. And for about 5 years, she struggled immensely. And she took something called, it wasn't an SSRI, it was an NSRI. So it didn't chemically alter the brain. It was, hold on a second.
Wow.
Hold on, let me think. It's a smoking cessation. Somebody knows what it is. I'll think of it in a second. It doesn't matter. It's for anxiety. It's to stop smoking. It's an appetite suppressant. And I can't think of it, but it's not Prozac. It's not lithium. It's not that. It's an NSRI, which is completely different than an SSRI. But
yes, sir,
it is considered to be a psychotropic drug, even though it's not. Somebody will tell me what the name of it is, and I just can't remember.
Yes, sir.
So because she took that, red flag laws states that she has had some sort of mental Chantix, Wellbutrin. Thank you. Yes, it's Wellbutrin, and Wellbutrin is fairly well known. That's correct. Thank you, Amy. Because she took that, according to red flag laws, because she, in their eyes, in the last so many years, has suffered from a psychotic episode or been on some sort of medication for depression, that she is not able to have a firearm, which is ridiculous. Now, she is concealed carry. She does have her firearm, but that would be a case where they could. What I was charged with a year and a half ago, when I was wrongfully charged for supposed domestic violence, but wasn't charged for domestic violence, that is a red flag violation that would have impacted my concealed carry. Although it was expunged and completely eradicated, this is a example of red flag. So I'm 100% against them. You asked my opinion. I know that there are plenty of people who want to try to solve the problem, but here's the thing that I'll say, and then I'm going to shut up and let you talk, Tim, is
yes, sir,
is that we have to do something. There are people who should not possess firearms in this country who are suffering from paranoid delusion, schizophrenia, homicidal tendencies, psychotropic episodes, who should not have possession of firearms or access to firearms. How do we identify those people? I don't believe it starts with red flag laws. I believe it starts with psychological evaluation, and that we need to be really honest that there are people who don't qualify to operate a vehicle, let alone a firearm. And there needs to be a database to stop those people from having access to guns. But what does that look like? Without mental institutions, without processes in place to identify, this problem can't be solved with red flag laws. Timothy, I want to get your opinion on what you think. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I agree with you 100%. I think we need to do something. There's a lot of gun violence out there, but there's a lot of violence, period. It's not just about the guns. And just like you said, it's about the mental health problems that we have in this society, that we have in the United States.
Yeah.
I can say that I am a veteran. I do suffer from PTSD.
What branch did you serve in?
I talked to you before about it, United States Navy submarine.
Roger that. I remember you, Tim. Thank you, sir. Yep.
In Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes, sir. I remember now. Thank you for reminding me.
And I was, I could tell a little bit about this. Some of the things that she wrote on her affidavit that she put in, I immediately just didn't. I got upset, of course. I'm like, I got served this paper the very next morning, Sunday morning, the day after Veterans Day, after I went and enjoyed myself with a little meeting with veterans and had little speeches and got to meet a 3-star general. And I wake up the next morning and from a very happy and day for veterans to getting served.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in the Second Amendment. I have a concealed weapon permit as well. Yes, I do have guns. Well, I did. I do have guns, weapons. I use them mostly for hunting or shooting sport. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember on her paper, she said that I threatened someone with a gun and the police were called. Well, my head kicked into overdrive and said, okay, Tim, let's focus on this. If they said that you threatened someone with a gun and the police were called, that means there would be a report. And the only police that would come around here would be mostly the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
So I contacted the sheriff's department and got a list of all the times they came out.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Nowhere in there was there any gun involved. None.
How many times did they come out?
7.
That's a lot.
The seventh time I can say that it was a welfare check on me because I hadn't sent her the spousal support. And the reason why I didn't do that is when I took over custody of the house, there were damages.
Yeah.
And I contacted the sheriff's department immediately. Within 30 minutes, they had a deputy over to here. He went through the house, and his words were, she trashed the place. It's a beautiful house, but she trashed the place, but you can fix it. I'm like, yes, but it's going to take thousands of dollars. Thousands.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm not. I figured out, you know what? I'm not going to pay her the spousal support. Well, the judge wanted to know why. He talked to my lawyer. A lawyer told him why, and the judge is allowing it.
That's because according to the law, one thing doesn't have to do with the other. Reciprocity laws, when it comes to diverging funds that are court ordered, have nothing to do with personal liability law. And I know that sucks. And I know it's not a good, but the judge has a mandate, and you can settle those damages in court is going to be his argument, and it still doesn't supersede the order to pay alimony. And whether you like that or not, it's just the way it is. Tim, let me ask you a question. Can we shift gears?
No, the judge is allowing me to not have to pay her, but he wants to see some receipts or estimates. And I have one estimate already from a contractor that's on the Better Business Bureau. I figured I would go after the top of the line contractors around here, even if I had to pay for that estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And they came through, and I showed them just the damages that the dynamics was all her adult offspring I allowed to live here.
Mm-hmm.
And they were damaging the house. Accidents happen, but accidents have to be paid for.
Yeah.
I requested at least pay for half, but no one wanted to pay for nothing, and she allowed it.
Tim, let me shift gears. And I'm not trying to be your bartender or shrink. Yes,
sir.
How are you?
Oh, no.
How are you?
How am I?
Yeah.
I'm upset, but I'm okay.
Okay. So drop the upset for me. How are you?
I went and spoke with my therapist yesterday.
Okay.
And I told him the situation, what was going on. And I asked his disorder. And he said, no, you have hypervigilancy PTSD. I was like, well, I need all the notes that you have on my mental health record so I can show the judge that I am not violent. I am not a danger to myself nor others, nor do I want to harm anyone. I just want them to leave me alone. Let me just say this. The gentleman that brought the second round, because there's always a first round, and then it gets heard, and they figure out whether or not it gets extended, and they figure out whether or not it needs to go to court. Well, they did that, and they said, yeah, it needs to go to court.
Mm-hmm.
Then they brought me the paperwork. I had talked to the magistrate's office that signed this protective order, and I explained things to him. But he did not want to listen. He wanted to go to court. I'm like, okay, I see what's coming. So they came and delivered a second round of paperwork. This gentleman was handing me this paperwork. You're going to find this I found it hilarious. I can understand why they do this. So he's handing me this paperwork describing the individuals in the house, which apparently there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them in one house. I don't know where. And he's handing me this paperwork, and I remember him, and I'm looking at the paperwork, and he has another piece of paper to hand me. He says, now this is the address that I was like, I just pushed the paper away. I was like, sir, I don't know where they live. I don't want to know where they live. I don't want nothing to do with them. I know they live over in such and such area in a town, and I have no inclination to go over there whatsoever. None. Mm-hmm. They were about to give me the address where they live. If I was a violent person, why in the world would you do that?
So Tim, can I offer some advice from a person?
Yes, sir.
Let me just give it to you as I only know how to give it, which is straight. If you weren't thinking about those things, you wouldn't have thought about that. So
I was looking at my defense.
Tim, listen to me. Listen to me.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a smart fucking guy. And I know how
I know you are. That's the reason why I'm asking this question.
All right, then let me answer it. I know how these lawyers and judges think. The moment you bring that up without being unsolicited, they're going to crush you on that because you brought it up. I don't want to hear the word upset from you. I don't want to hear the word, well, they tried to give me an address, and why would they do that if they thought I was going to go and kill them all? You don't say those things because you did think you did think about it, and you chose the better of it. But you also made one statement that was almost an ultimatum when you said, I'm not upset. I don't want to harm anyone. I just want them to leave me alone, which can be inferred as if they don't leave me alone, I'm going to harm somebody and I'm going to be upset. Do you understand?
Yes, sir, I do.
So change your language and change the way you talk about yourself. I am a Second Amendment supporter. I use firearms for self-defense. I use firearms to protect my property, and I use them for leisure and sport. And I find them therapeutic to go out with my buddies and fire at some targets once in a while. And then don't talk. Shut
Roger
up.
That.
Don't say a fucking word. Because all you're saying, you have nothing about being upset. You have nothing about 7 people. You have nothing about those. You talk to your shrink and you talk to your bartender. You don't talk about that in the court of law. If you do that, this thing will be thrown out. If you mention anything you just did, you're not going to be able to have your guns. That's the truth.
Can I explain one thing to you?
Sure. You can. Sure.
Okay. In numerous I've repeatedly told this individual to leave me alone. I want nothing to do with him. Everything should be worked out in court.
Yep.
When that gentleman tried to show me that address, I immediately was in fear that it would be used. If I knew the address, it would be used against me. That was my fear. That's the reason why I told this gentleman, I don't want to know this address. Right. I do not.
Right.
It's not. It's all because what do they call that? Plausible deniability.
Right. But and what happens when they subpoena? What happens when they subpoena him? And they want him to testify about your reaction about seeing a address. They will spin this, Tim. They can, yeah. So here's what I would recommend. Okay, from a son who saw a father and mother go through this and deteriorate their relationship, this divorce is the best possible thing that could ever happen to you. You need to hear me when I say this. Is there is life after marriage, and you need to embrace it. It is. See, that's the thing you don't understand. It's already over. So anything that you continue to process is going to be exemplified by your PTS. And I don't call it PTSD because it's not a disorder. It's curable, and it's something that you're not born with. It's something you inherited for doing heroic and terrific things, but horrible things. And that needs to be addressed, and you can't feed the demon. So every time you go down that path of being vindictive towards her, and you're gonna tell me, no, I'm not. Yes, you are, Tim, or we wouldn't be talking about this. It's on your mind. It's in your craw. You got to let it go. It's over.
Yes, sir.
And it's time to move on. I know it's over. It's time to move on. Anything that happened is already in the past, and wasting any time with it is using neurons and good feelings that could be focused on your progression, on living your life and being happy. And I want that for you, brother. I want that for you more than anything. Okay.
Right now, my feelings right now is, see, I keep a Constitution. I keep a Bible with me. I read it, not just keep it. I read it.
Yes, sir.
And I understand the Second Amendment rights. I even looked up the human rights on it, and I'm like, that goes against human rights. You have a right to life.
Yes.
You can defend yourself.
Yes.
And I'm like, it's in the Bill of Rights. And I'm like, why? See, this happened once. To me, it feels like this happened once before, many years ago. There was a group of people in this country, and they had weapons, and the government did not want them to have weapons. And the government wanted, I don't know the whole story, but the government, the way I understood it, the government came to take those weapons. And apparently it only took 3% to stop them. And it wound up into a war.
You're talking about the 3%ers, yeah, in the history of the 3%ers, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that was the colonists wanting their rights not taken away.
Right.
Because they wanted to defend themselves from improper treatment.
Yeah. Listen, Tim,
and I'm like,
I care about guns more than anything.
Yes, sir.
I care about guns more than anything.
Yes, sir.
I do, because I believe that the First Amendment and the Bill of Rights, the only reason it is still intact is because of our Second Amendment. I believe that. But I also don't believe that I'm going to have to defend myself from the United States government with my firearms. I don't believe that that's going to take. I don't believe that that's going to take place. Because
I pray it does.
I don't.
Hope people have a clear mind that understand that, because it's a no-win situation.
It is. It is a no-win situation.
It's no-win.
And the government understands that, and they know that. And it comes down to this. This is going to be done in micro bursts of people trying to limit what type of firearms you can have or what modifications. This is what California did. All of it was ruled unconstitutional. The one thing that Donald Trump did for us that we can thank the heavens for, and the only thing that I truly will, if I ever saw and met him, I would thank him for, because it's everlasting, is the generational court that he gave us is Second Amendment through and through. And they have filed every decision in favor of the Second Amendment that's been proposed, and they will continue to do that, I believe. And that is why this next election is so important, because there's probably 2 Supreme Court justice seats open, which still gives us favor. But these state Supreme Courts and federal and district courts are corrupt, especially in Virginia. You know what's here. These people don't like you. These people don't believe you should have a gun. They believe that you're a crazy Trump supporter who was a veteran who doesn't need a gun, and you need to let go of it, and you're going to be violent. So knowing that that's what they think about you, you must make sure that you do not check those boxes when you go into that court. Do you have a lawyer?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I just went over there and paid him yesterday and gave him the documents and told him this time when this goes to court, he's also my divorce lawyer. I told him when this goes to court, she gets nothing. I was going to give her the car. She gets nothing. She should never have done this to me, and I'm going to show perjury on her behalf.
Tim, but as soon as you can put this in the rearview mirror, do it. And,
I am. I'm going to draw a vacuum on this fast.
Have you seen War of the Roses? The movie?
I've heard of that movie.
You need to do me a favor. I want you to call back in. I want you to hang up with me and go get yourself a cup of coffee or go get yourself whatever you want, and go put in War of the Roses with Michael Douglas and Turner, and go watch that. Kathleen Turner and Danny DeVito, and then come back and tell me if you think it's worth it about the car and the money and everything else. My recommendation to you, from a person who facilitated divorce between my parents, is give her whatever the fuck she wants and cut her out of your life as quickly as possible. This is not worth it in the scheme of things of you trying to be who you want to be. Remember the show today. Not who you are, who you want to be, this is beneath you. Materialism and things like that are never going to make it better. It's going to create vindication. It's going to create animosity. And there is nothing worse than a woman scorned. You can't win against a woman.
Oh, I know that thing.
Then get the hell away from it. Then run fast, because women.
Oh, that thing.
Women are very, very vindictive when they want to be. And if my wife, I would just cut her a check and get the hell out of there. Pop smoke as fast as possible.
This one is very vindictive. I can honestly say this because it's public knowledge anyway.
Yeah.
I found this later on, but I allowed it because I figured I'd give her a chance, because everybody has a story in life. I'm husband number 5, man number 6 she's been with. She has 4 children by 4 different men. My belief, she's been beat up in this world, and I gave her a chance. But as I looked at what happened in the household, and I eventually had a heart attack and stressed out all the time, it was time to say goodbye before I wound up dead. I could have had another heart attack at any time, the stress that I was put under.
How many times have you been married, Tim? How many times have you been married?
First marriage, I was married
just tell me how many times you've been married.
To a woman? To a woman. No.
Hey, Tim. All right, buddy. That's a boy. No, you're
no.
You are Navy
Not
after
that
all.
way.
I know. I'm teasing.
Not that
I'm teasing.
way.
I'm teasing.
I remarried my first wife.
How many times have you been married, brother? Just answer my question for me, please. How many times?
3 times.
Okay, you're done getting married.
Oh, I am.
No, Tim, say it to me. I am done getting married.
I am done getting married.
Good. Find a nice woman that'll stay over some nights. She'll rub your feet, whatever. Even if you got to put some money on the bedside at the end of the night, I don't care. Marriage is not for you. You need to stop.
Right now, brother, I'd rather have a nice cup of coffee with a beautiful meal that I fixed. There
you go.
And that's it.
That a boy.
I go hunting, fishing, kayaking. I enjoy my serenity.
Good.
Period.
That is who you want to be. So be that way.
Oh, yes, sir.
All
before we get off here, we just talked about the red flag law and how it's bad.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like just a few minutes here.
Of course.
We do have a problem with violence in this country.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about domestic violence.
Sure.
I have seen it. I am against it. There is no need to raise a hand or harm anyone in a marriage or anything like that.
Why do I feel a butt coming on?
There's no butt.
Okay.
There's no butt.
All right.
There's no butt.
Okay.
I would love for a red flag law to be used properly and to be used to protect people, whether it be a woman or a man. It does not matter. Okay? Either one, because there's violence on both behalves. But I do not want to see it one-sided. But if they can get if they can get a red flag law where it will not take away someone's rights,
well,
they do it quickly. They do an investigation the way they're supposed to.
Right.
If they find out that it is not true, quickly, which they can't do. That's the reason why they push it quick. Yeah. Emergency protective order, emergency. It, in a way, it devastates the individuals that it's put against.
Tim, we can stop there. That's like saying I want to get a circumcision without touching my penis. It's not going to happen. You can't have red flag laws without impeding on people's rights. It's not possible. And that's the problem with red flag laws. But what we need to understand is our position on the Second Amendment is poor. It is. It's everything or nothing. And it's very much like abortion for the liberals. We want it all. The moment you restrict a little bit of abortion, you restrict all of abortion. Well, we say the same thing with guns. They're synonymous. We want guns so we have the opportunity to take a life if we need to. They want abortion so they can take a life if they need to. Don't you understand? It's the same thing. Everyone's like, well, I have my gun because I like to go ahead and shoot, or I like to hunt. Bullshit. You've got your handgun because you want it for self-defense in case someone tries to enter your home or someone tries to take it away. That's why you have a handgun. You don't hunt with handguns. Give me a fucking break. You don't use them for maybe a 500 Win Mag you use for a bear. But we use guns for self-defense. Now, a rifle, nobody's using a 308 for home defense, okay? An AR-15,
Oh, God.
an AR-15 essentially is a glorified pistol. We know this. So I want to be honest here. We can say, don't touch my AR-15. We can say, don't touch my M1. We can say, don't touch my Garand. Don't touch my Glock. Fine. But what we can't say is, okay, you want to protect people who don't have the ability to protect themselves or don't want that ability or don't want that responsibility. How do we ensure that people are safe? Well, it's not just mental hospitals. It's not just red flag laws. It's securing our weak targets. It's securing these malls, securing the schools. We have to do this. This is why banks don't get robbed anymore. It's because there are armed guards and technology, and the reaction time from our police is down to seconds versus down to 10 minutes. We have to enhance our ability. So I'm sick and tired of Second Amendment people saying there is absolutely no flexibility. This can't be touched, because that, unfortunately, isn't going to solve the problem. And I'm also sick of Democrats thinking that the only way to stop gun violence is more gun law, when it's already the most overregulated amendment that we possess. There are 30, 40,000 pieces of legislation right now focused on gun laws sitting that will never touch the light of day. We have enough law. What we need is more action, and we need men of action and people of action to realize
amen, brother.
It's a multifaceted problem. There's no Band-Aid to fix this. It's cancer.
No, sir.
All right.
It is.
Timothy, I love it when you call. What's your number one takeaway? What are you going to do differently than you were before you called? Is there something that you're like, you know what, I'm going to do this instead of this?
I'm going to do this.
Okay. What are you going to do?
I'm going to allow my lawyer to do what he's supposed to do.
Okay.
I have the evidence to show that this was a boy crying wolf in this red flag law. And I hope things can be rectified and maybe come up with something where we can protect people with the law. But like you said, in my opinion too, this red flag law sucks.
It does suck.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow my lawyer to go. We're going to go to the courthouse and keep my mouth shut. He's going to do his job.
Yep.
The questions they ask me, I'm going to tell them exactly the question. I'm not going to rose cover it, make it look pretty. Nope, I am not. I'm going to answer the questions exactly as they ask them to me.
Take out the words upset. Take out focuses on what
I'm concerned, not upset.
Yeah, concerned. Yeah, just let your lawyer talk and answer the question, right? Don't. Here, I'm going to give you a little test, and then we got to go. Okay. What time is it?
What time is it right now here? Where I'm at? 10:51.
Okay.
A.M.
I didn't ask any of that. I asked you what time it was.
Oh, gotcha.
So
I understand.
Yeah, you good, because you should.
What time is it? 10:51.
10:51.
That's it.
AM or PM? I didn't ask you that. I just asked you what time it was. It's 10:51. That's all you got to say. Learn to answer the question, and don't add a bunch of shit to it, because these are the words that should be ringing through your head. Everything I say can and will be used against me in the court of law, and that is true. And that doesn't stop after you take the handcuffs off. That doesn't stop when you get your court date. Anything you say can and will be used against you for the rest of your life. So be careful what you say and answer the fucking question. Only the question.
After that.
All right, buddy?
I was a machinist mate in the Navy, what they call a snipe.
Yeah.
I wasn't a yeoman. I don't know much about paperwork unless it's to write up a package for a work order. But
yeah.
I got you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I really do. God bless you.
What time is it? Just answer the question. Cool?
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon. Good call. We'll talk some other time.
You take care.
All right,
Thanks,
Tim.
man.
Good luck to you.
I appreciate it. You keep this up. Keep this up. You're doing a good thing.
I appreciate you, brother. I'm going to keep it up.
And by the way, I picked up a gallon of maple syrup so I can enjoy you frying them twat waffles next.
Yeah, twat waffles are the greatest breakfast in the world, buddy. I appreciate you.
Every time you say that, I'll bust out laughing. I do. I'm like, well, you just hammer that twat waffle.
Don't say it in court. Don't say it in court. Don't.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. You take care and God bless you.
All right, but
okay?
God bless. Thanks so much.
Take care of yourself.
You got it. I will. I like him. Folks, listen, it was a good show. It was definitely not the show I kind of prepared. 3 hours. That's a long morning show, but sometimes it's nice to take off the shackles and just go. Mike has a schedule that he has to fulfill. He's got animals and stuff. We missed him. I love having my new buddy to my right, and it's good, though, to connect with the audience and just have a conversation. Thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show, folks. If you don't mind, head on over to thedumbshow.com. See if there's some shirts, some hats, some coffee. That does help. And I know it's tight out there, and I know money's tight out there, and I don't want to ever beg anything for anyone. But if you are in need of a cool hoodie, some T-shirts, some coffee, some hats, we've got it all over there. It's a really good shop. I'm going to be working on the site today, kind of making it more simple, put a splash page up in the front, and you can go to the podcast, the video, just make it real easy. It's too complicated, it's too flashy, and go over and take a look. You can use code DUM10, DUM10 to save 10%. I promise you this, all the stuff you get from the show is rock star. There's nothing but 5-star reviews on the site, and people know that it's quality merchandise. So go over there and take a look. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night. No recorded show today. You had yesterday's. Do me a favor. That one's really a good show. It's about why Donald Trump is the best president for Israel. Go listen to that show. And Facebook's bearing it, of course, because it says Trump, and they do that all the time. Go listen to that if you would not mind. The podcast is struggling a little bit. We're trying to figure out some of the issues it's having. I'm going to work on that today and hopefully get that up and running. Thanks for watching. God bless, and we will see you Friday night with a new show and a recorded show in the morning. Have a good one. Take care of each other and all of that. See ya.